Good evening, everyone. My name is William Iannuzzi. I'm president of the Board of Education, and welcome to our board meeting. Colleagues, can I get a motion and a second to reconvene the public session of the meeting?
So moved, Castellano Minaya.
Second, Bavosa.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Could we all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? So the next item of the agenda, we are going to have a moment of silence. This past December, we lost a member of the New Rochelle City School District staff, Mario Fuumara, who was a security guard at New Rochelle High School. So let's please take a minute for a moment of silence. Thank you all. Before we start the presentations, we just have a couple of business things we just have to quickly do. So colleagues, can I get a motion and a second to accept minutes of the Board of Education regular meeting held on December 5th, 2023, and accept minutes of the Board of Education special meeting held on December 14, 2023, as submitted by the clerk and secretary to the Board of Education?
So moved. Second, Castellano Minaya.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next up is Board of Education announcements. Do any of my colleagues have any announcements they would like to make? Ms. Bavosa?
I'd like to just comment, especially since we're at Isaac tonight, that Isaac Young won the rank of distinguished in the NCTE Art and Literature Journal Contest, which was headed by Isabel Maldonado and Philomena Daniele. Kudos to anyone involved in that. Great, great, great art and literary award.
Thank you, Ms. Bavosa. Ms. Ross, then Ms. Lewis.
I just wanted to, I had the pleasure of going to the Studio Arts Festival at Webster earlier this week, and I just wanted to congratulate all the artists. There were performing artists as well as visual artists, and it was a great performance to watch. Also for the our basketball teams, for the ladies, the young girls have been doing very well for New Rochelle High School, and also elementary school basketball has kicked off right here at Isaac Young every Saturday. So it was fun to watch the teams. I believe the ones who I watched, it was Jefferson, Webster, and Trinity this past weekend. So it was great to see the young ladies in action and learning how to have teamwork and play basketball, even if they traveled halfway through the court. It was fun to watch.
More congratulations are in order. I had the chance to go to Trinity. Can you hear me? Aladdin Junior. And so I just want to say congratulations to all of our fabulous students who performed. And congratulations to our teachers and staff who helped put on an amazing Broadway and New Rochelle version of Aladdin.
Hey, I had good evening, New Rochelle. This was my school, IEY. I had the pleasure of attending an award ceremony for education, excellent educators, and our very own Superintendent Dr. Corey Reynolds was honored by WAPSE, the Westchester Alliance of Black School Educators. And it was wonderful to be in the room because I've been an educator for 30 years and saw a lot of old friends. And also, it was always a great time to honor our very own superintendent. Very proud of you, Dr. Reynolds. And also on MLK Day, our students, 10 of our students from elementary school to high school, they chose excerpts from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s work. And what they did, they discussed it. They explained what it was about, what it meant to them, and then they read themselves. So that was very powerful. And also, I would like to congratulate our boys who, basketball players in high school who have become champions again. And thank you, New Rochelle, for always making us proud.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. I've actually had the pleasure to attend and participate in several of these deep dive Saturday programs that the school district is now offering. It's where I work, so at the Boys and Girls Club, but it's such a great and cool program because in the morning, elementary and middle school kids, you can do a free basketball clinic to learn skills called Clinic Kids. And then the afternoon is parent workshops and different activities with elementary and middle school kids, all for free. So if you haven't signed up, there's space still available. You can go on the district Facebook page or website to find that information. And next up on the agenda is our superintendent's updates. I'll throw it over to you, Dr. Reynolds.
Thank you very much, President Iannuzzi. To the board trustees, good evening. To our community members, our students who are here, to those of you who are watching at home or at a later date, I would like to wish you a happy new year. This is actually our first meeting for the 2024 year. It seems like we're already through January, yet here we are. In the interest of time, because we did have to suspend our meeting, our first meeting for the month, and we are pretty much folding in 2 meetings into one this evening, I'm going to forego my long report. But I would be remiss if I did not mention that we have an additional web page that will be up and running on our website tomorrow regarding the proposed charter school, the position, the unanimous position of the Board of Education, along with some resources that will be on that page for you, i.e. letters that you can write to express your sentiment to the State University of New York chancellors who, not chancellors, to the board who represents charter schools. So please be on the lookout for that. It will be made live on its own banner page tomorrow. And we look forward to hearing from you. We would also ask if you are writing a letter to SUNY, please be sure to CC the Board of Education on that communication. So if you are interested, there's not a force, but if you're interested, so that we can understand your sentiment and your desires. So with that, Mr. President, I'm going to relinquish the microphone back to you.
And there's also a QR code outside with the PTA and Ms. Monzone for a change.org petition as well. So next up is our discussion items, and as Dr. Reynolds says, we have a bunch tonight. So first up is the Isaac E. Young Middle School presentation. We're gonna go down. So board members, we're gonna go to the front row.
Good evening, Board of Education President Iannuzzi, Superintendent Reynolds, board members and guests, and of course our students. It is my pleasure to stand before you as the principal of Isaac E. Young Middle School to welcome you to our school, affectionately known as the Castle. Tonight, our aim is to give you a glimpse into how we strive to create a welcoming and affirming community of learners where all students are valued and supported. Walking side by side, I am fortunate to have an incredible and visionary team of leaders. Mr. Trujillo and Mr. Cornelius serve as assistant principals. You can wave. Ms. Bustillos is our Dean of Students. Ms. Karina Villalona serves as the Assistant Director of Special Education for Isaac. Our department leaders, Rana Hafiz, who is actually in class and unable to join us tonight, chairs our math department. Dr. Beatrice Lopez chairs our humanities department. And Ms. Julie Verville chairs our science department. The Isaac student demographic chart shows a diverse cohort of students, with our largest population being Hispanic at 72%, followed by Black at 16% and white at 8%. While this gives you a glimpse into our demographic data, let us peek at some of the talent represented at the Castle. I am so excited to present to you our Isaac E. Young Middle School Castle Chorus led by Ms. Sarah Bianco. Tonight they will sing Dance. The words and music are by Robert T. Gibson. So I didn't talk to Miss Bianco about what she was gonna sing, and she didn't know what my presentation was about, but we're on the same page because tonight is all about highlighting the strengths and talents and the diversity of our students. And I am just so happy they practiced. It was like a notice, but it was a lot to pull together with the hand clapping and the snapping, and they pulled it off, and they were just phenomenal. I so enjoy hearing and seeing the growth and development within our performance groups, and we have a range of talented students who contribute so much to our school community. So thank you again. You can go home. I'll see you in the morning, on time for school. Have a wonderful evening, and thank you so much. So aligned to the CRSE rubric of Principle 1, as you can see, there are multiple ways that students have an active role in creating and sustaining a welcoming and affirming environment. Participation in the arts is one way. And tonight, we will share with you how we use the concepts of student voice and choice to affirm students' identities, tap into their hopes, their dreams, and hopefully create conditions by which students are able to be successful in school in a variety of ways, just not academics. And so the culturally responsive sustaining education framework offers recommendations for creating and maintaining a welcoming environment. At Isaac, we have taken components of the framework and have grounded our work in specific recommendations. And the framework recommends assessing the school climate using a variety of measures and disaggregating the data to create strategic plans to address any concerns that may emerge. We have interpreted that to answer the question, how can we amplify student voices so that we hear directly from them their thoughts on our school environment? We felt a quick student survey was the best tool. The questions were simple, as we did not want to make the survey too complex, and participation was optional. We aligned the questions to Principle 1 of the framework, and here is a snapshot of the first marking period data. Students were asked if they enjoyed their time at Isaac, and 85.2% responded yes, they were enjoying their time at Isaac. Students were asked if adults greet them in the morning, at other times during the day, if adults said hello to them. They were asked if anyone ever asked them how they were or if they needed help, and 93.9% of the students responded yes. We also asked if there was at least one adult in the school that they could go to for help. This question had a positive response rate of 82.7. We also specifically asked if, as students, did they feel welcome at Isaac? And 87.7% of the respondents indicated they felt welcome. While all students did not take the survey, as it was optional, 827 students responded to the optional survey, and our goal is to give follow-up surveys with the hope that more and more students will participate to help us identify trends in our school. From the data gleaned, we were able to identify students who submitted negative responses, such as they were not enjoying their time or they did not feel cared for or welcome. And from there, a small team of clinicians conducted individual interviews to learn more. The responses were then sorted into 3 categories. What can we address immediately, as it is solely within our locus of control as a school community? What can we address but over a longer period and requires more people at the table? And finally, what is out of our control but will be presented to a larger audience to see how we may be of support? And our goal is to action plan around these 3 questions. Another way we strive to create a welcoming and affirming environment is through this idea of student choice. And at times, student choice is relegated to student choice in assignments or how students are allowed to present their learning. At Isaac, we have taken somewhat of a different approach. Before I speak directly about our approach to student choice, I would like you to hear the voices and thoughts of 2 Isaac students who I will simply describe as agents of social change. Rawan Abdicarter was elected 6th grade president by her peers. She is an avid writer and interested in issues of diversity and inclusion. Rawan is the author of a short story titled Courage. She wants to use her voice and writing to bring awareness to different student experiences of those who may not be the majority. Natalie Martinez is a 6th grade advocate who hopes to help her community through civic engagement and advocacy. She is passionate about environmental conservation and aspires to attend Harvard University and become a heart surgeon.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Ron Abdelkader. I'm a 6th grade student here at Isaac. I was elected to serve as the 6th grade class president by my classmates. Today, I'll be talking about how our school is promoting a better place for students to express their identity and culture. My goals for the future are to become an orthodontist and an advocate for diversity and inclusion. Being an orthodontist and making the world a better place are 2 very different things. But here at Isaac, I've come to realize that our school is a place where anything is possible and that we can make things happen if we try hard enough. In September, I was a part of a writer's workshop with award-winning author Pablo Cartaya. I registered to this event because I wanted to learn more about how authors get their ideas for their books. In this session, we didn't just talk about his books and the publishing process. We talked about our own ideas and we received feedback. I learned that writing from my own perspective is not only important, but powerful. Writing my own stories helps me share my identity, my culture, and my experiences with others. This is especially important to me because I love to write. Recently, I published my own book titled Courage. It is about student voice, inclusion, and achieving your goals even when you feel like you can't. At Isaac, everyone belongs. Our school tries to make our community more inclusive and helps us make connections to different identities. In social studies, we created a self-identification presentation. Projects like this help teach us about different countries, religions, beliefs, languages, and cultures. Our projects are now hanging around the hallways for students to see. This is important because everyone in our community deserves to be represented and have a voice. Currently, I'm working on creating clear understandings about different holidays and celebrations that may not be well known or popular in New Rochelle. I have been given opportunities to discuss issues like this with our principal and even local government members. I'm glad that we can all listen to each other and learn from one another. At IOIMS, everyone is important and deserves to be heard. Thank you and have a great rest of your evening, everyone.
Hello, my name is Natalie Martinez. I'm a 6th grade student at IOIMS, something 11 brighter schools opportunities offered. Just 5 months into my time at school, I feel like I've done so much. My future goal is to become a heart surgeon, but also be an agent of positive social change. I know it is important to talk about the problems going on in the world and do something about it. In October, I was able to meet with the New Rochelle City Council members. In that meeting, I shared my concerns to environmental conservation. While kayaking at Five Islands, my family and I went under the bridge and we saw raw sewage completely covering the water. As we moved further, we saw fish all above the water and the smell of the water was horrible. I'm worried that while the city is investing in the construction of new buildings, the conservation of our natural environment is being neglected. I know my voice has been heard. Resources were shared with me about what I can do to make a difference. Very soon I hope to be part of an Isaac follow-up student group that will take part in a visit with the mayor at City Hall. I can't wait. Last week, I won the Pulitzer Center journalist and was able to make connections to my passion for environmental justice and climate change. The journalist showed Isaac students how to use multimedia journalism to report on stories that are meaningful to us. I think I want to write a story about my experience at Five Islands and how kids can keep the city's natural environment safe. Because of the experiences and opportunities given here at Isaac, I know that I'm an agent of positive social change. I'm 12 years old and I already feel like I've done so much. I look forward to what my future holds at Isaac in 6th grade and beyond. I'm grateful to be feeling like I belong and my voice counts. This brings me to an end. Thank you and have a great evening.
So once again, just an example of the talent that is sitting in our classrooms. And these are 6th graders. I think they told you, I think 11 and 11, and 11 and 12, and they're publishing books. Her book is available on Amazon. I'll send you on Amazon, self-published. And an advocate who, I'm going to talk about what we call tailored experiences, but an advocate for the environment and conservation. And she really was able to say, hey guys, I live in New Rochelle, I went kayaking and this is what we saw, what are we going to do about it? And it was because of an experience that she had here that I'm going to talk about that allowed them to do that. So thank you, they are fantastic students and I can't wait to see how they progress and down the road, how they continue to contribute to Isaac, to New Rochelle, and the larger community. So as exemplified by these students and many of our Isaac students, they have a voice in choosing their learning experiences. And so normally what we would do, for example, if we invited an author in, we would say, all the 6th graders, you're gonna come into the auditorium and you're gonna sit and you're gonna listen to this author, right? Everybody doesn't want to hear that message. Everyone isn't interested in becoming a writer, an author. Some of us don't even like to read. So to support the development of a welcoming and connected to an affirming environment, the framework recommends creating student-centered learning environments that affirm and celebrate the cultural identities of students. The framework recommends empowering students as agents of social change and highlighting the works designed by students and members of the broader community. As a staff, and leadership team, we have internalized that to focus on choice and student agency. We seek to provide students with opportunities to choose to participate in tailored learning experiences aligned to how they see themselves and what they want to explore about themselves. We ground these experiences in a standards-aligned, humanities-based approach to living, learning, connecting, and understanding the human connection and experience. At Isaac, we are piloting the use of tailored experiences where students can make connections and be in spaces and places beyond the confines of a traditional classroom. We want students to know what matters to them, matters to us, and that we support them as a community. At the heart of each experience is the student, not the visitor, not the guest. In these moments of interaction, student voices are amplified through a unique opportunity to speak, share, engage, question, and exchange thoughts and ideas with those who may look like them, share a similar background, serve as a model for future aspirations, or those who may inspire them to push forward in the pursuit of social change and advocacy. The tailored experiences are advertised to students through announcements, Google Classrooms, emails, flyers, and teachers. The purpose, outcomes, and goals of the experience are clearly emphasized. Students register for their preferred experience by responding to a brief survey. They must provide a rationale for participating, what the student hopes to learn, what the student hopes to contribute, and how the experience will benefit them as a learner. Recently, students interested in understanding the local government of New Rochelle and learning more about the city of New Rochelle registered to engage in a tailored personal experience with, at that time, City Council member Ramos Herbert, who is now the mayor, and Council member Lopez Hanratty. I have shared with you just a few of the responses to the question, what do you hope to learn from this experience? Is included in the presentation. And this particular experience was titled Promoting the Power of Civic Engagement. In another experience, future poets wrote and performed original poetry on the stage of the famous Nuyorican Poets Cafe, a cultural icon located in the Lower East Side of New York City, where a lot of poets you may have heard of launched their careers. Well, our students performed there. They signed up, they registered for the experience, and they told us why they wanted to participate. And for us, choice is about giving students the opportunity to decide for themselves which learning activities align to how they see themselves, what they hope to accomplish, and where they see themselves in the future. Future authors and lovers of books and reading registered for an interactive writing seminar with Pablo Catara. He emphasized to students the importance of writing the stories they want to read. He also offered students tips for using their experiences as the foundation for their ideas. Student feedback included, I see myself in his books, I identify with him culturally, his background is like mine, and I want to learn how to bring my stories to life. And we know the research tells us students learn best when they can make connections and find meaning in what they are learning and doing. Other experiences included our Nights for Human Rights, where students attended the Human Rights Institute. This event was sponsored by the Holocaust and Human Rights Education Center in White Plains. And the goal of this event was to empower students to become upstanders and bring awareness to human rights issues. Most recently, students registered for a virtual experience with Josie Malavo, a filmmaker passionate about immigration, human rights, and environmental justice. The focus of this experience was journalism, and students learned what it takes to research a story, and they also learned that most stories for reporters are born from a place of passion and interest. Students learned that being a journalist is not as simple as just writing. It's about a passion. It's about something that you want to share with the world or with your community. And while this is our first year piloting these kind of small tailored experiences, and these opportunities are crafted by our humanities chairperson, Dr. Lopez, with a lens on the standards, our leadership team is discussing how we can extend these opportunities to other disciplines such as the sciences, the arts, technology, and STEM areas. At the end of the year, we will assess the success of our tailored experiences by looking at our data, who participated, who what was the feedback? Did the students who participated feel more connected to our school community? We will also discuss how students can become co-creators of these types of learning experiences. Students have already begun to kind of push and jumpstart that co-creation. For example, they have requested to visit the mayor at City Hall and extend the previous dialogues from a new lens. So now you were a city council member when we first met you, now you're the mayor, so how have things changed? Students have requested that we bring in a performer from the Human Rights Institute, as the students view the message as relevant to all students. Others have requested a follow-up to the journalism experience. We will continue to look at creative, innovative, and real ways to create a learning environment where students thrive, feel connected, feel welcome, feel affirmed, and at the same time can tap into and explore dimensions of their own identity. While not all-encompassing, we hope that this presentation gives you a snippet into the exciting work that is happening inside the castle and a glimpse of the phenomenal students that we have in our school. And joining our team to continue this work, I would like to recognize the following staff members who earned tenure, and they fit just lovely into the school that we are creating here. So congratulations for receiving tenure to Plinio Trujillo, my assistant principal. Simply fantastic. What's it saying in the morning? Wash your hands, wash your hands, wash your hands. He brings such a wonderful, warm environment. The students connect with him. He's a fan of the anime and Star Wars, and so the video games, and so the kids, they connect with him. Such a fantastic addition to our team. Thank you, Mr. Trujillo, for all that you do. And one of my sidekicks, Miss Coley, whenever I have an idea that's focused and centered in SEL, I say, Miss Coley, come down to the main office. We have some work to do. And so she was one of the folks who helped me to interview students and follow up with the children around the interviews and the surveys. And she is such a wonderful addition to not only pupil services, but to the team as a whole. She's fantastic, Miss Coley. Congratulations. Thank you. And so we do have 2 special education teachers, and they're like quiet storms, or actually 3, and they're like quiet storms. Mr. Mingione, he doesn't say much, but he's a presence in the hallway. He participates with activities. Like when I say we're having a theme day, I can count on at least Mr. Mingione to put on that costume and put on that hat and that just bring that atmosphere to the classroom. He is a special education teacher, and we appreciate all that he brings to our students, Mr. Mingione. He also does mud runs, right? Mud races. Congratulations. Such a wonderful addition to the team. Miss Behar, another, she's a quiet storm. She works with our life skills students, and the things that she does with the students are amazing. And with her, and as well as Ms. Roper, they have done a phenomenal job with ensuring that our life skills students and our ABA students are integrated into the community and in our school. They go to the theater, they go to shows, they go apple picking, they go out to lunch. Like, they have really embraced our Isaac ideals around inclusion, identity, belonging. And our children who are in our special program, they fit us and they belong at Isaac. So congratulations to Mrs. Behar and Mrs. Roper. Mrs. Roper is the teacher in our ABA 812 program. Some of our students with some of the most high-level needs, but again, a phenomenal job. She's patient, she's kind, she's good with parents, and she's phenomenal with the staff, and she's amazing with the children. So such a wonderful addition. Thank you, Mrs. Roper. So this concludes my presentation, and we hope you've learned something about us tonight.
Sorry, I forgot to bring microphones. Do any of my colleagues have any questions? or comments?
Yes, I have a comment. Thank you very much for the presentation this evening. Thank you to you for your leadership, and congratulations to the teachers who received tenure, and to Mr. Trujillo for receiving tenure as assistant principal. And thank you to all of the children for the wonderful presentation and their teacher.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Ms. Williams. Ms. Brooks?
Thank you, and to the young women, you guys were just amazing. My daughter's the same age, and you guys just blew me away. So thank you so much for sharing your brilliance with us. And to the YMS, I got that wrong, crowd, this presentation was phenomenal. And very efficient. So I want to give kudos because I'm always complaining, can we make the presentations go faster? You got a lot in a very short amount of time. And so I want to both compliment the richness, but also the succinctness of the presentation. And also, I guess this is more a question for the central office, the methodology of really taking a sweeping view, and really also kudos for your response rate, because for surveys, a 40% response rate is considered excellent. This is twice that. So I wanted to call that out, but also just digging in deeper. Okay, we have this big view, but then let's talk to people. Then let's take that data and use it and make it actionable. I just really want to call you out on that and say that I hope all of our schools in our districts they should be consulting with you on the framework of how to set up a really rigorous study to really think about where can we move the needle, because we can always do better. I mean, one of the things I saw was, 70% of our kids don't think there's one adult that they can talk to. And it's great that 83% think there are. Let's find those other 17% and make sure they do. And you can only do that if you actually have the data that you can then do the kind of programs that you're talking about here in this presentation. So phenomenal. Thank you. Congratulations to all of you. It's really a pleasure to be in this beautiful building.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
I'd like to congratulate so many. I have notes, and it's like I have to abbreviate them. The chorus and Miss Bianco for pulling in the term of rhythm and the rhythm of loving everyone for whatever beauty they have. The 6th grade, the young women who are so empowered to get up and present. I am not doubting that there will be more books and that there will be a heart surgeon out of that. Kudos for the tenure, especially during these stormy times. I heard quiet but stormy. Lasting through the many storms is not so easy as it might have been in years past. Not that I thought it was when I was going for my tenure. So kudos to you, and many, many years to come. Loved that Ms. Robinson's presentation was clear and concise, because as much as we talk, we'd like not everybody to talk a lot. And yet you pinpointed everything. And you kept that message and focus on loving amidst the diversity, keeping that rhythm flowing, and you were right. The chorus tied up exactly what you wanted to say. So if we're looking for some type of a symbiotic experience, it just happened. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We have an amazing staff. I mean, not many of them were able to come tonight, the weather, responsibilities, but I'm fortunate to work with not just an amazing leadership team, but an amazing group of people, good, bad, or indifferent. We make the magic happen as best as we can, and I'm very fortunate to have an amazing staff.
My actual student teaching and first teaching experience was here at Isaac.
Oh, wow. Fantastic.
I have no doubt that you have a future mayor in the student body at this incredible castle. And I have no doubt that it might even be a future president sitting right here amongst those 6th grade, fierce, strong, phenomenal women. And I just want to say, and I'm speaking for myself, but also the board, how can we support you? We are so proud of you, of your leadership, of your vision in centering the voices of our students and helping them feel that this is their school and they belong and they have a place and they have agency. And sometimes in middle school, so many students might feel and say the opposite. So I just want to applaud you. And I know that there's so 24/7 hard work that goes behind all of this vision and love and joy that you bring and the staff brings. So my only comment / question is just, how can we as a board support you?
I think it happens, right? And it happens organically because I'm going to put them on the spot. Our superintendent is amazing. He's responsive, he's available, he's active, he's involved. And then Dr. Roberts, my immediate supervisor, is a pleasure to work with her. She's creative, she's smart, she's easy to talk to. You know, you can bounce ideas off of her. And if you ever get in a jam, you know, she's willing to help you out and try to help you come up with the best solution or the best way to get something accomplished. And so I feel strongly about all of our assistant superintendents, including Dr. Joyner, who I work closely with. She's coming to my building again next Friday. We meet with her on Fridays, like twice a month. So I feel the support is there organically because you have positioned us with such an amazing, I think, group of leaders. And so as long as we're able to work together and push the vision forward and they're clear about where we're going and you're clear about where we're headed, I feel like we can continue to do the work no matter how hard and difficult it is. We're not a perfect school by any means, but we're a pretty good school, and I'm confident in that. And even with our PTA, they're here, they support, they're always involved, they're here in the buildings all the time, so they're regular faces in our building every day doing what they can to support. So I think it's a collaborative, collective effort.
So through the board president and the trustees, I don't like having my back to anyone, so please forgive me. I'm going to date myself. So I used to watch the Brady Bunch, right? And the episode that rings out in everybody's mind is when Jan, the middle daughter, said, you know, everything's about Marsha, 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 the older daughter. Oftentimes we experience these types of presentations at the elementary school level, and we walk away with this feeling of joy. Then we go to the opposite end at the high school, and we walk away with this feeling of joy. I want to remind everyone that this evening we're talking about a middle school. That's supposed to be America's problem, right? It's the middle school years. And tonight, Dr. Robertson, you and your team have presented to us our reality. You are a pretty good school, right? I want you just to use your term.
We try. We try. It's not always easy.
But in that conversation, we also realized that we're talking about students, right? So we saw students' performance, which was fantastic. But more importantly, and I've shared this with the public, I'm in this profession for a very selfish reason. I want to dedicate my life to ensuring that there are people on the other end who are going to be able to take care of me when I'm old, right? So we look at our two young ladies this evening, and we talk about future leadership. I can walk away tonight feeling that I am in good hands for my future, and I want to thank you for all that you've expressed. At the tender ages of 11 and 12, I have a 19-year-old boy who I don't even think, and I love him, he's gonna be mad with me. I don't know that he can write and speak that well. So I want to thank you for all that you've expressed this evening, but more importantly, for all of the promise you have in your future. Thank you very much for this presentation.
Thank you. And I just would like to say one thing, right? A lot of times when you think that children or students are presenting, you walk away with this feeling that it was planned and scripted. Rawan found us. She came to Dr. Lopez and me, I think, and she said, I understand there's a board presentation. And she said, and last year, Micah presented. And she said, and this year, I want to speak and I have something to say. And so Natalie was pulled because of her amazing advocacy and the way she presented herself with the city council women. And so we met with them and we said, okay, this is the topic. You got to stream it in. And they did the work. They met. They sought us out. When are we practicing? When are we rehearsing? What is the environment going to be like? So when I say to you, again, an organic situation that kind of naturally unfolded, and when I call these two over here real leaders, to seek out an adult and an administrator and say, I want to be the spokesperson at the board meeting this year, that's powerful. And so I am so proud of them, and I'm excited to see where they land. I'm sure they're going to do fantastic things, but they're just a sampling of what we have.
That's great. I just have to say I thoroughly enjoyed this presentation because it was very familiar to me because it involved and dealt with the pillars and foundation of what positive youth development is. I mean, you talked about, your survey was about safe, supportive relationships, adult connections, and you were even able to identify those kids that weren't feeling that and reaching out to them. You talked about opportunities for these kids and expectations, but also fun. Those things were cool. Going, meeting authors, poets, those opportunities right there from middle school is amazing, especially in a time where post-COVID, so many kids are tired of school or bored with school. Giving them those opportunities is just, I believe, such a rare occurrence, and I'm so happy to see that it's happening. I just want to give you kudos and give your team kudos because I, once again, thoroughly enjoyed that, and I love the connections you guys are making right now with these students.
Thank you.
Does any other of my colleagues have any questions, comments? Superintendent Reynolds?
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Robinson. So, Mr. President, I'm going to ask that you indulge us, allow our staff to get ready to go home so that they can be fresh for tomorrow, and we'll transition for our next presentation.
If any of my colleagues need something from the dais, want to bring it down.
I'm actually going to turn this around so that we're being presented to. Yeah. Can we shift this around a little bit so that they're facing the camera? What was that? That's going to be a little awkward. Dr. Reynolds, do anyone want to be able to see this?
You're gonna give me a crick in my neck. Hi.
Who's going to speak first? Dr. Roberts? Oh, you want? Okay. I'm going to introduce Dr. Roberts, who will introduce you. Okay. Okay. Good evening again, everyone, and I thank you very much for being with us this evening. Keeping in mind that we were scheduled to have these next three presentations over 2 meetings, we're going to consolidate our presentations this evening, not in the mindset of the amount of information that we're going to offer, but we're going to run a marathon. So we ask that you please buckle up and be ready to move with us. So the first of our 3 presentations this evening will be that of our graduate profile. And this evening, leading that conversation is our Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction, Dr. Olivine Roberts. Dr. Roberts.
Good evening, and thank you, Dr. Reynolds. Good evening to our board president, Mr. William Iannuzzi, board members, Superintendent Dr. Reynolds, and the community. Tonight, joining me is Tilsa Rodriguez Gonzalez, who is our supervisor of health and physical education, and we are pleased to share the journey that we have been on to create the district's first graduate profile. In doing so, we will first begin by setting the context for the development of the graduate profile. We'll then share the methodology used that led to its creation. From there, we will unveil our actual graduate profile. And lastly, we will end by highlighting some key next steps. Our context setting. As it is our custom, it is important that we frame the context by starting with our why, which is our continued steadfast commitment to providing comprehensive academic programming for our students in service to realizing our vision, accomplishing our mission, and ensuring that we provide a fair and equitable education for every student every day, so they're poised for success now and beyond graduation. Additionally, the creation of the graduate profile is directly aligned to our strategic roadmap, particularly Objective E of the Student Learning Direction, which calls for the design of a graduate profile as a means of equipping our students with the knowledge and tools needed to successfully transition to college or the workplace, as well as increasing our graduation rate. Another key driver is the impact of our national and international landscape, including the pandemic, which was a defining moment in education. As we survey this landscape, we know that globalization and modernization are rapidly posing new and demanding challenges for individuals and societies alike. The continued evolution of technology, the instantaneous availability of vast amounts of information, and the status of our global economy are just a few of the factors contributing to these demands. Additionally, there's a clarion call for students to be equipped with 21st century skills, including but not limited to the 4 C's of collaboration, communication, critical thinking, problem solving, as well as creativity and innovation. These expectations are reflected in the Partnership for 21st Century Skills, the SCANS report, which is the Secretary's Commission of Achieving Necessary Skills, and that's one that's very dated. I won't tell you how old, but still relevant, as well as the National Assessment Governing Board report on academic preparedness. All of these perspectives informed the development of our graduate profile. Being purpose-driven, to that end, in service to our vision and equity statements as well as our mission, the graduate profile memorializes our commitment by establishing a shared set of academic and social emotional competencies that characterize our graduates and guide our preparation of them. So they are future ready and can contribute and can continue, to thrive at the end of their tenure with us. She's going to be in timeout. This graduate profile will serve as our North Star. It is the expectation that this profile will be seen as a student success tool to be used from the first day of pre-K through graduation day by our students, our parents, business, community partners, teachers, as well as our site and central office administrators, so we speak with one voice regarding the preparation of our students. At this time, I am pleased to pass the baton to Tilsa Rodriguez Gonzalez, who served as our facilitator of this initiative. She will share with you the methodology and the design used to create our graduate profile and present the profile to you. Please welcome Tilsa.
Thank you.
I think I went too fast. You may want
It's
to go
fine.
back one.
Good evening. The creation of our graduate profile utilized an inclusive process. We engaged in a series of collaborative sessions with various stakeholder groups. Each group was asked to identify the knowledge, skills, behaviors, and attitudes that are essential to poise our students for success beyond our pre-K-12 system. To guide their engagement, we asked this framing question: when envisioning our graduating class, what are some key characteristics, areas of knowledge, skills, and/or dispositions that come to mind? Again, using this framing question, we launched community engagement in December 2022. The intention was to obtain participation from staff, students, parents, post-secondary institutions, and community organizations. We circulated a survey through a platform called Thought Exchange by posting the link on our district website, including it in our school's newsletters and on social media. Additionally, the link was sent home with our elementary students using the backpack method. Moreover, we conducted student focus groups, had discussion sessions with parents during PTA meetings, and facilitated conversations with staff during faculty meetings. In order to garner additional community input, the survey was circulated with our local post-secondary institutions and the New Rochelle Council of Community Services, which represents a collective of local community organizations. In March 2023, we obtained enough responses to the framing question. We analyzed the data and identified a set of 6 competencies. From there, an infographic outlining the 6 competencies was developed and shared with students, staff, and parents to solicit their feedback. In addition, this past September, the 6 competencies were defined and shared again with staff for feedback. And tonight, we are pleased to present the graduate profile. As a result of these efforts, a total of 2,140 people contributed to the development of the graduate profile. This included 919 students, 388 staff members comprised of teachers, support staff, and administrators, 629 parents, and 204 post-secondary education and community personnel combined. We are very appreciative of their engagement, which added great value to this process. Our primary means of collection was accomplished through the Thought Exchange platform, which provided both qualitative and quantitative engagement tools to ensure fast and in-depth access to our stakeholders' feedback. This strategy was launched by asking stakeholders to anonymously respond to our framing question. They had the ability to select from up to 100 languages of choice. All ideas were shared confidentially. Once our stakeholders communicated ideas, they were asked to rate the ideas using a scale of 1 to 5 stars based on whether or not they agreed or how they thought a thought was important. At the end, our stakeholders were able to view how the thoughts in the exchange were rated by the group. We are delighted to hear that the New York State used the same method to garner community input in the development of its graduate profile. In addition to the framing question, we wanted to know more about the respondents. So when our stakeholders logged into the exchange, they were asked to provide some demographic data. As noted on the slide, which helped to which help to recognize patterns and trends. For example, we received participation from all zip codes within the boundaries of our school district, and then we were able to drill down and see how many students and parents in each zip code favored a particular thought. As previously shared, the framing question allowed participants to anonymously share their ideas. Once participants answered the questions, they were able to rate the thoughts of others based on a 5-point scale. At the close of the thought exchange survey, as reflected on this slide, 1,545 people responded, of which 746 people shared thoughts that received 12,167 ratings. This slide reflects some of the thoughts shared by our stakeholders. For example, our participant shared, "It's important to be able to feel comfortable to communicate with others. It's helpful to make things go smoothly overall." The key thought identified was communication. The comment received a 4.3 rating and was ranked number 1 out of 349 based on the number of people who rated it. In addition, based on responses, the thought exchange determined a series of keyword themes that are shown in this heat map. The y-axis shows the theme that emerged based on the same process as the previous example. The x-axis shows the demographic information of the participants. Taking a closer look at this example, successful generated 12 thoughts from 39 males with a rating of 3.8 stars. Now we are pleased to present the graduate profile. In March 2023, once we aggregated the data from the thought exchange surveys, focus groups, and meetings, a set of 6 high-level skills, areas of knowledge, and competencies emerged, which are represented here in this slide. As you can see, the competencies were taken directly from the key thoughts and themes. After the identification of these competencies, we once again circulated the draft through the community to solicit feedback from parents, staff, and students to determine if we accurately captured the community's sentiments. Please note that the New Rochelle community believes that the following 6 competencies will position our students to thrive in a complex and rapidly changing world: effective communication and collaboration, global citizenship, life and leadership skills, critical thinking and problem solving, innovation and entrepreneurship, and college and career ready. Please note that the New York State Board of Regents created a Blue Ribbon Commission to examine and rethink the state's graduation requirements. This charge included the creation of the New York State Portrait of a Graduate. In September 2023, the Blue Ribbon Committee unveiled its profile, and we are pleased to say that 5 of our competencies, including effective communication, global citizen, critical thinker, innovation, college career readiness, are closely aligned to the state's 7 identified attributes. We are currently working to draft a definition of the competencies that will be used to develop performance indicators for each competency. We invite you to peruse the working definitions for the competencies noted on this slide. This slide has career and college ready, innovation and entrepreneurship, critical thinking, and problem solving. And these are the last 3 competencies. I invite you to review them: life and leadership skills, global citizen, and effective communication and collaboration. I now give the floor back to Dr. Roberts.
Thank you, Tilsa. So we're very proud of the work that has been accomplished thus far, but there is still much to be done in order for us to effectively leverage our graduate profile so our students are best poised to transition to the post-secondary institution or workforce of their choice. So moving forward, we will take time to further align our profile to the state's profile of a graduate once it is completed and released. As Tilsa shared, we will use the working definitions of the competencies to create both performance indicators and grade band benchmarks. So these benchmarks will be pre-K 3, so by the end of 3rd grade, where are students relative to the competencies outlined on their journey to 12th grade. We'll do the same again at the end of 5th grade, the end of 8th grade, 10th grade, because we want to do a pulse check while they're in high school before they reach 12th grade. So these will be the grade band benchmarks with performance indicators that we will be able to use as our measures of success to see where we are in providing our students, equipping them with the knowledge and skills that will poise them for success when they leave our district. While doing this work, we will ensure that there's a solid vertical articulation between and across grade bands. So as we're doing the benchmark work, it is important that we have alignment from grade band to grade band. In addition, the performance indicators and grade band benchmarks will be integrated within our professional learning. So this is not something that is pretty that will sit on a shelf, but we will make certain that this is integrated within our work and become a part of who we are in the City School District of New Rochelle. And lastly, because this is a living document, we will continue to solicit stakeholder feedback and make changes when warranted. This concludes our presentation, and we welcome your questions.
Thank you so much, Dr. Roberts and Tilsa. Ms. Ross.
Well, thank you for the graduate profile. And I've been on the board, I think, 2.5 years, so I know that it's been a work in progress. So I'm excited that we finally have a chance to see it, and it's coming to fruition. One question for you is, now that we've developed the graduate profile, how does this sync with the other initiatives that we have in terms of, I think maybe it was earlier this year or late last year, in terms of just overall performance and grade level performance of how students are doing? So how do we sync sort of all these different initiatives that we have so that they align? And then, I guess secondarily to that as well, is does it have any impact on the overall curriculum in terms of our students, right? So now if you want global citizenship, does that change how we teach social studies or how we talk about it? Leadership skills, does that change some of our leadership, some of our teaching methods and how we talk to students and get them to present, and like the two, lovely young ladies that we just heard from. So sort of how do we incorporate within our curriculum, and then how is it linked within the other initiatives that we have about just overall performance of the students within our district?
Okay. Thank you for your question. So this graduate profile serves as a thread, right? So this is not new work. You heard the Isaac performance. What you saw tonight is a reflection of the graduate profile. What the profile is allowing us to do is to memorialize and to say we have this North Star, and how do we ensure that the practices that we're implementing, that we're adopting and implementing, the curricular resources, the experiences that we're giving our students now and in the future are all connected and will position them for to be the successful individuals when they leave us. So this is not something that's new. It is a way for us to make, and Dr. Reynolds will laugh, the invisible visible, right? It is a way of us solidifying the data. And so that's why I went back to the next steps, because when we talk about the grade band benchmarks, a third grade teacher, as they are doing their work, again, not new work, they will be able to see, oh, as I am doing these types of innovative practices, oh, I'm drawing on critical thinking. Okay, as we're doing the experiences that we saw today, we're building global citizens. So these are the ways that we will connect. It is not new work. It is connecting and making certain that the work that we're doing, it really provides, if you want to say, a spotlight to the work. So the benchmark grade bands, the performance indicators will allow us to crystallize and to make this more meaningful. I believe when we bring those to the board next time, it will make more sense. I don't know if I've answered your question, but.
Ms. Brooks?
Thank you again for the speedy and meaty presentation. Really appreciate it. I just had one kind of comment on the working definition for global citizen, and this is just an observation. I don't have I'm not even exactly sure how to fit it in, but I think really naming the importance of understanding civic engagement and civic processes. So I think global citizen is kind of a trendy thing. We lived in this hyper globalized world, but I do feel that every time I look at the voter turnout for our Board of Education elections, for example, I wonder, is there more that we can do as a school district around that? And I don't want that to get lost in the global part. I think emphasizing the local and the civic, not just engagement, but particularly knowledge of government and all of these different things. I would love to see that better represented here.
Thank you. And that's why it says working definition,
Which I
not
took that as an
the
invitation
definition.
to-
So we welcome the feedback. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Dr. Roberts, one, thank you very much for this presentation. Me and Valerie, we're the veterans on the board. This is our 5th year, so hearing the graduate profile, we've heard this a lot. Our former colleague, Todd Kern, that was like his baby. He really wanted this graduate profile, so I'm glad to see it's actually in fruition. And before this meeting, we were downstairs talking about how the last 2.5 years has been such a substantive year of progress for the district, strategic roadmap with metrics, data warehouse, and now this graduate profile. So my question really is about capacity of the district. There's a lot being rolled out, and I just want to hear from you and Superintendent Reynolds. I just want to make sure that we're not overwhelming teachers, staff, that this won't be able to be accomplished in a successful way.
Thank you for that. So when we began this work, we actually wanted to present to you not only the competencies, but the performance indicators and the grade band benchmarks. You saw what we brought to you tonight. And the reason for that is that we wanted to be responsive to our schools. So we've heard from our schools that we're doing good things, but we also need to take the time to really internalize the work and to get the work to the ground, right? There is such a thing as sponge size. How much can the school, the leaders, the staff, the teachers absorb, internalize? Because it's not about compliance, it's not about checking the box, oh, we have a profile, right? We don't want it just to be something that sits on a shelf, but we actually want it to be a tool that helps to define who we are as a system. So how do we then build those enabling conditions to get there? That takes time. So we will go slow to go fast, and that's why tonight you're only seeing 1/3 of this work, because, and again, we started December of when?
December 2022.
Okay.
It's been a full year and a month.
So we've been on this journey. So we want to be very mindful and go at the rate of our schools. Superintendent Reynolds?
Thank you very much for the question, Mr. President. So please keep in mind that every effort that we take and make, and every step that we take and make towards progress, does stretch the organization. So we want to be cognizant of that. And one thing that you'll learn to believe, if you don't already, is in this cabinet's transparency. So for us to say that, you know, another item for us to do will not stretch us would be a fallacy. So we are stretched. But we're not stretched to the point of the rubber band snapping. And the reason for that is because we believe in sustainability. So we're not going to do something just to say we've done it, as Dr. Roberts said. But we want to make sure that the way that we're addressing these types of holes in our system is to ensure that there is some replicable action steps that can be taken. So the graduate profile is not an isolated item. It is one that is embedded within our strategic roadmap, but it also goes hand in hand with the work that we're doing. So work around grading policies, work around the policies revision that the board is undertaking. All of these are steps that are mindful and intricate so that we are not doing work just for the sake of being busy. And I'd like to raise a point that Trustee Ross brought up. It's not piecemeal. It's not, how does this get done without it being woven through everything else? Whenever we find that we are coming across something that is just a single item ticket, we press pause on that. If it doesn't fit within what is good for our students in the district, we press pause on that. In our next presentation after Dr. Roberts, you're going to see how the system is intricately involved through our student support services, how one action goes hand in hand with the other. This student, the graduate profile, it's time for it because we know that we have great practices in place, which is why we are not just doing this work to make our teachers' lives busy. We are acknowledging the great work that's already happening in practice, and we are discovering a way of capturing it in a living document that is living because our students are living. So what one aspect of our graduate profile looks like today will not be the case tomorrow, because as our students develop, we also have to develop our practices, and we also have to develop our understanding of what the organization can do.
Thank you for that. And if you just indulge me for a moment, a set of reflections. You know, 4 or 5 years ago, this work wasn't being done. We were constantly putting out fires, dealing with issue after issue after issue. And I know we're not a perfect board, we're not a perfect district, we're not a perfect administration, but it brings satisfaction and joy to me to see that work like this is being done. Because it wasn't. And I mean, being on the board 4 or 5 years ago, it's a testament to see how far we have come. And I want to thank Dr. Reynolds, Dr. Roberts, and the entire staff for really moving us now into a new direction that, you know, 4 or 5 years ago, we didn't know what direction we were going in. So thank you guys. On behalf of the board, thank you. I do appreciate seeing this work being done.
If I may say, and I actually said this to a group this afternoon, we're in a meeting, the stakeholders we have in this district, when we talk about our teachers, our support staff, our leaders, and our parents, our community partners, we are going in the same direction. We have talented people in this district. We have people who are committed to our district. And so even though the work is hard, this isn't easy. Because of their commitment and dedication, we're able to shift the dial. So the kudos really do go to them. So thank you.
We're going to transition our PowerPoint presentation to prepare for our next presentation. Thank you very much, Travis. This evening, as mentioned, and firstly I would like to thank Dr. Roberts and Ms. Gonzalez for that presentation. I want to, again, just reassert that the work that we're doing, the work that we're talking about, while the proactive mentioning of wanting to do this work happened so long ago, is naturally coming to fruition because we do have a leadership team that has a proactive vision to what it is that we're doing. But more importantly, we have a practitioner staff that is proactive in their practice in the classroom, right? So this doesn't go in isolation. It's not just top down. It's really acknowledging the work that's being done by our practitioners on a daily basis. So I would like to thank all of our teachers and our staff members who support this work as well. But with that being said, we're going to hear this evening 2 presentations, which will be the totality of our Student Support Services Department. That department is led by our Assistant Superintendent, Dr. Gail Joyner. She's going to introduce the 2 separate presentations, which again are so intricately connected, are going to seem almost seamless in terms of what it is that we are doing in this district. So with that, I'm going to bring Dr. Joyner to the microphone.
Thank you, Dr. Reynolds. So to the Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Corey W. Reynolds, our Board President, William Iannuzzi, board members, colleagues, staff, family, community members, good evening. The Student Support Services team would like to say thank you to the board for allowing us to share the opportunity and how we are moving forward together with purpose. So I am Dr. Gail Joyner, a proud member of this amazing team that includes Mr. Nate Adams, our My Brother's Keeper coordinator, Mr. Eddie Castro, our Director of Family and Community Engagement, Ms. Millicent Lee, who is with us this evening, and so are they, our Director of Pupil Personnel Services, Ms. Leah Lugovina Freitas, our Director of Guidance, and Dr. Roshan Bourjwani, our Director of Social, Emotional, and Expanded Learning. So I'm going to do that first, and then I'll go back. So our mission and vision is our North Star, and it guides our work as we cultivate a culture of care that embraces the whole child. I'm sorry, because the order is a little off. So our equity vision, just bear with me for a second, statement speaks to the uniqueness of the individuals within our community, honoring both their differences and their strengths. So, in service to the work that lies ahead, each department stays dedicated to our core beliefs and our commitment to where we want our students to be and the opportunities that we provide access to for them. So really quickly, because Dr. Roberts did allude to this, but as the district, we are strategically built, or should I say designed, by the departments, but regardless of the work that lies ahead, each division has a strategic direction embedded within the roadmap, which is a 5-year plan with supporting goals for each area. It is important that we realize how these 4 divisions collaborate to impact student learning, create safe, supportive, and connected schools with superb staff, and the necessary resources for all of our schools. So as we move forward with the implementation of our strategic plan, we do so with the portrait of the graduate in mind. So we're going to set the stage this evening, and again, I'm just here to share with you how we approach the work. So the process of continuous improvement is cyclical. In the initial phase, we assess what we currently have. We analyze both quantitative and qualitative data. We acknowledge the great work that is already being done, and I want to take a moment to thank the building principals, our school counselors, our teachers, our psychologists, our social workers, nurses, and support staff for all that you do to create a culture of care that supports the whole child. We will continue to collaborate with the team members to co-design that which we desire, and to assess the impact of all of our efforts, we will continuously monitor the process. So tonight's area of focus is really not about me, but about our team. And 3 of our team members will share their commitment to our collective why as a department. We will have Dr. Roshan Bourjwani come to us first to share the social and emotional learning journey, followed by Dr. I put that in the universe. Dr. Freitas, maybe we put that in the universe. Leah Freitas, our Director of Guidance, who will provide an overview of our K-12 school counseling plan. And last but certainly not least, Mr. Nate Adams will bring us an overview of the year in review for My Brother's Keeper and My Sister Keeper programs. So without further ado, I turn it over now to Dr. Roshan Bhuswani.
Thank you, Dr. Reynolds, Board President Iannuzzi, and Board of Education for giving me the opportunity to share this journey, which is officially 7 days after my anniversary with the City School District of New Rochelle. So I begin our journey with the CASEL framework, which is a New York State endorsed framework, which we are utilizing as the basis for our operations and support and systems that come out of the Student Support Services team. This is a really critical and important framework because not only does it recognize the importance of the student and what we pour into the student, but it acknowledges all the stakeholders that lie around the student. And so it is with that framework that we are building and growing. So we acknowledge and understand and cherish the individuality of all our school buildings, and we recognize that there is space for continuity and consistency. So in support of the strategic roadmap, we are working to find additional supports that we can provide to our students that are consistent across our district. So, social emotional learning is the plate. It is the plate because everything is poured on top of it. Everything is served on top of it. We want to make sure that we are able to create the grounding work that then eventually leads for our students, a place for our students to have outcomes that are successful today and in their future. While we are creating the social emotional plate, we are taking note of what our families and students and teachers are saying during our pilot programs that utilize some practices over the summer. We had experiences where parents were sharing that they, for the first time, had their kids sitting at the dinner table sharing stories about their day. They had a language to communicate and were able to push forward. So we are assessing, we are analyzing, and co-designing and acknowledging almost all the time. So last year, we spent a lot of time with principals, asking them what their practices were in their school, making sure that we knew what was happening in the buildings. We talked to practitioners, we talked to school counselors, guidance counselors, the clinicians, and asked them about their daily practices around social emotional learning. What we did find is that Rethink is a resource that is used across our district. It is used in very different ways. We know that daily practices in the area of socio-emotional learning are valued, that clinicians, social workers, psychologists, and school counselors are prioritizing students through the social emotional lens, and that regardless of where you are in our district, kids are being supported. Last summer, during their Summer Stars Exploration Program, we piloted a bunch of new practices, new to our consistent practices. And we closed last school year with a teacher assessment utilizing the Rethink resource. So students in our district were assessed and put on a spectrum of sorts utilizing the Rethink resource. Students completed a beginning and end assessment that was designed in accordance to the scope and sequence that we developed for the summer. And students participated in a daily explicit learning opportunity as well as practices throughout the day. And Summer Stars began each day with a mindful moment. In this year, I'm very proud to say that I've been collaborating with stakeholders across the district to design and develop what has begun this week. We are starting walkthroughs to kind of look at the non-explicit teachings around social emotional learning. We want to see what's happening on the day-to-day. How are kids being welcomed into spaces? What are the what are the posters on the wall, and how do we see teachers and students and staff members interacting with our kids. We sent 2 leaders, a district level leader and a building level leader, to a nationally recognized conference. After the conference, these 2 individuals turnkeyed the information to our newly launched social emotional behavior intervention team committee, and we learned a lot about just practices that are being utilized nationally and ways that we can implement stuff in our district baseline level. We have continued to canvass the nation for research-based strategies to move forward in our district and to also challenge them and to see how they fit in our regular day. The planning will continue, and our summer will be another opportunity for pilots and to utilize our vision statement to move forward, receive feedback, and plan professional learning for next school year. I am so excited to announce that January was our launch month for the Fleur de Lis Focus Moment. It is the new Rochelle thing. So every morning at the end of the closing announcements, principals and building leaders close their announcement with this moment where they read our core values and beliefs, attribute it to the Fleur de Lis Focus Moment, and then ask students to participate in a breathing reflection where they not only can reflect on who they were yesterday, but plan for today and move into tomorrow. Simultaneously, as Board President Iannuzzi shared at the beginning of our meeting today, we have kicked off Saturday Deep Dive. And this is a commitment to SEL in all ways and very responsive to the CASEL framework. We are giving our parents what they need because they are telling us what they want. We are supporting our students in not only in sports opportunities with SEL, but practical learning opportunities, hands-on activities, and together they're creating experiences together so that they can create opportunities for their futures. So this is a timeline of where we're going till the end of Summer Stars. So we're utilizing the opportunity to create our vision statement. We are sharing it with stakeholders. The framework will be developed, also receiving feedback from our stakeholders, and the committee will continue to draft. We will start professional development in the spring with our teachers who will come into Summer Stars Deep Dive and start to continue practices that are full across all our 4 buildings. And then we will begin to plan the professional development series that we will implement in the fall of next year. I will also add that maybe 10 years ago as a leader, I said, one day I'm gonna find a district that I'm gonna be able to be proud to bring my children to. And while my kids don't attend the New Rochelle City School District, they do show up with me every Saturday and participate in activities. Thank you. And it is with that I am going to present Leah Lugovina Freitas, one of the most committed and responsive people I know. Thank you.
Good evening, President Iannuzzi, trustees, Superintendent Dr. Reynolds. Thank you so much for this opportunity to present our work. We are very proud of it. Over the course of the year, we have continuously reflected on the work of developing a district school counseling vision and mission statement that aligns with our board of approved vision and mission statements, asking ourselves simply, what do we do? What would we like to see happening? In collaboration with the school counseling team, we developed the 23-24 school vision and mission statements. We are a caring, creative, and cohesive group that provides services to support the whole student. We personally guide students to discover, reflect, and nurture their strengths and areas of growth. We are committed to providing our students and families with high-quality, planned experiences designed to develop insight for greater self-awareness, encourage career and college readiness, and provide skills to positively engage in a diverse world. On the left, is an image of a poster we created after being inspired by an article in the New York Times entitled, When Students Are Upset, Ask This One Question, authored by Jan C. Dunn. This poster is displayed in every school counselor's office throughout our district. This reminds us on a daily basis to support our students to be able to express what they need at the point of contact between the counselor and the student. This is a quote that has driven my professional purpose throughout the last 11 years as an administrator and serves as a reminder of the importance that every child must be offered an equitable learning experience. It comes to us by Damon Lopez, founder of the No Excuses University. The American School Counseling Association, referred to as ASCA, national standards, serve as the framework of school counseling programs. The ASCA Student Standards was first published in 2003 and is now in its 4th edition. In 2019, New York State Ed revised the Part 100.2 requirements, which are based on the ASCA model. The ASCA Student Standards serve as the foundation for school counselors' work in direct student services for all students. The standards describe the knowledge, attitudes, and skills we aspire for our students to demonstrate as a result of an effective school counseling program. The ASCA national model states that all students have the right to access a school counseling program that prepares them for the future and promotes equity and access for all. Every comprehensive school counseling program focuses on 3 broad domains: academic, career, and social and emotional development. When we look at the domains, they are in alignment with our district's vision and mission statement, where we focus on the whole child approach to learning. While school counselors are supporting the whole child in these 3 domains, and oftentimes simultaneously, they are also promoting mindsets and behaviors that enhance the learning process and create a culture of college, career, and life readiness for every student. While we are working with our students to support them in the 3 ASCA domains, we are seeking to understand their current mindset, which includes their sense of acceptance and respect for others, their attitude toward work and learning, their sense of self and confidence, and their mindset about being a lifelong learner. All of these mindsets make up the student's belief system and will ultimately be demonstrated in their behaviors. What you see here are subsets of the 32 behavioral standards listed in the ASCA Student Standards. These ASCA behavioral standards include behaviors commonly associated with being a successful student. School counselors work with their students to develop these behavioral standards. We know that these behavioral standards have been developed when we see outward signs that a student is engaged, assuming responsibility, putting forth effort to learn, and have the ability and willingness to create positive relationships with other students and adults. These mindsets and behavioral standards support each domain in developing academic, social, emotional learning, and college and career readiness. As previously shown by Dr. Bajwani, in addition to the ASCA student standards, school counselors are providing school counseling services that encourage students to develop and enhance the CASEL 5 competencies of self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, relationship skills, and responsible decision-making. Our school counseling program is aligned with both the ASCA student standards and the CASEL framework. Our delivery models are the same at each grade level. School counselors provide individual and group counseling to all students. They do not, however, serve as the counselor providing the mandated counseling for students with mandated counseling on an IEP, individual educational plans. Here is now an overview of our K-12 school counseling plan. We're going to start with our elementary K through 5 school counseling plan. Last year was when we fully implemented the school counseling program at each elementary school, and when the elementary school counselors joined other clinicians for the first time. Thank you to the Board of Education for hiring more counselors at the elementary school level. As a result of this additional resource, elementary school counselors are laying the foundation for our youngest scholars to achieve lasting success throughout their lives, particularly in the area of SEL. We have two of our counselors here in the audience. Thank you for being here. Yes. We know that when students do not have the skills needed to express themselves effectively, be self-reflective, be empowered to celebrate their identities, have a sense of belonging, or to be able to visualize what they want their future selves to look like, learning will not happen well. That is why we need to continue to use our elementary school counselors to create spaces for this work to occur during the school day and to support our teachers to create space for this work in the classroom. Here is a snapshot of the K-5 school counseling plan. What you see here are practices that are currently in place and are being delivered. The plan itself is in the final stages of being memorialized to be ultimately posted on our website. If you were to visit one of our elementary schools, you would see school counselors pushing into classrooms, as an example, providing lessons that promote monthly SEL themes such as Jefferson Cares, Webster Ways, and Trinity Ready to Learn. Here is a snapshot of the 6-8 school counseling plan, showing how school counselors currently service our students at the K-8 level. The actual plan is also in the process of being memorialized to be posted on our website. The plan incorporates school counseling program that is aligned to the ASCA standards and CASEL competencies. And if you were to visit Albert Leonard or Isaac Young Middle Schools, you would see counselors conducting classroom visits on report card, progress reviews, and goal setting. Individual progress reviews are conducted with each student, which allows students to reflect on their progress and whether they are meeting their academic goals. Here is a snapshot of the 9-12 counseling plan showing how counselors currently serve our students. This plan is also in the process of being memorialized to be posted on our website. If you were to visit the high school, you would see counselors working with students individually to review course planning, transcript reviews, college exploration, and the college application process. Counselors also meet with students during times of heightened stress and to address academic progress and attendance issues. For the 2023-24 school year, we have identified various goals in service to our school counseling plan. At the K-5 levels, we are committed to increasing our targeted individual and group counseling services to deepen student and counselor connections at the elementary level. At the 6-8 levels, we are working to incorporate the use of Naviance with our students grades 6-8 as part of our school counseling program to 1, increase the use of Naviance among all of our students, and 2, provide a space for students to explore interests, skills, and potential career interests. At the 9-12 level, we are working to streamline the system whereby students can formally request an appointment with their counselor to 1, increase access to school counselors at the high school, and 2, create a system to efficiently collect data on individual counselor and student meetings. In service to this work, we created this calendar at the high school level to achieve and to keep us accountable to our goals. This is a living document. We aspire to create a calendar at the K-5 and 6-8 levels. Some examples of how we measure our success. Our student touch points. This is crucial. This is the most important way to ensure that our students have access to all of their school counselors and that access is consistent. So we have been tracking classroom lessons at each level, our group counseling at each level, and our individual counseling at each level, which is probably the most challenging aspect to record. Hence why in the high school, or to collect rather, hence why in the high school we are trying to create a system so that we can collect this data more efficiently. our college and career readiness goals, how many of our students are utilizing our Naviance system, how many of our families are utilizing our Naviance system. So we call those hits that we see, that we look at pretty much on a monthly basis. Our free application for federal student aid completion is really, really important. For the class of 2022, we saw 58% of our graduates completed, or our college-bound students, I should say, completed the FAFSA. We saw a little bit of an increase there in the class of 2023. How many courses and exams students are taking, we see an increase from one year to the next. Our graduation and diploma rates, we have that data for the class of 2022 and waiting for that data to come out officially for class of 2023. And of course, our post-secondary, our students are attending 2- or 4-year schools. We have that data for both 2022 and 23, but also looking at our New York State Student Information Repository System that comes from, thank you, Mr. Anderson, and looking at how many of our graduates who reported attending college, how many of them are actually still enrolled post-secondary, 24 months after high school. Our parent engagement. So at our family nights, we like to see how many of our students are represented in those family nights. So not necessarily how many parents are there, which is also nice to see when you have a large auditorium filled with parents, but how many actually students are being represented. So we see an increase in that from 2022 to 2023. Our 10th grade family night is happening this Thursday. Our 11th grade family night is happening in February. We saw an increase in our 12th grade family night, which is wonderful. We did see a dip in students represented in our Paying for College financial aid presentation. So we know we have some work to do to ensure that we are making sure those parents, those families, those students feel supported in completing their free application for federal student aid. In that we are providing 2 FAFSA boot camps, one at the end of this month and one in the spring. And moving forward, as I said, finalizing, memorializing the K through 12 plans, creating calendars for each grade level, developing a preschool counseling program. Very excited about that. Continuing to collect data on student touch points, pre-K through 12th grades. Collecting and analyzing Naviance data, including our middle school for the first time, exploring a caseload model for grades 9 and 11, 10 and 12, the goal being that if we have a model such as that, counselors are able to focus and give more attention to those grade levels during those school years. Continuing to offer in-person night meetings for both our English-speaking families, our Spanish-speaking families, very important to keep them in person. And digitize students' permanent records cards kept in perpetuity using parchment. That's a huge goal of ours, and we are happy to see that moving forward for next year. And of course, our team, the people behind our work, our elementary school counselors, amazing group of young counselors. I said they were both here, 2 of them are here today. Our Albert Leonard Middle School counselors, Isaac Young Middle School counselors, Mr. Siakas, who serves our students at Huguenot Academy, our high school counselors, House 1, House 2, our House 3 counselors, our House 4 counselors. And the work of a counselor is creating significant relationships so that significant learning can occur. Thank you very much. It is my pleasure to bring up Mr. Nate Adams, Program Coordinator for My Brother's Keeper.
Thank you, Leah. It is an honor to come back this year to present some of the work of the My Brother's Keeper initiative, a collaboration with the City School District of New Rochelle and the City of New Rochelle. This presentation will highlight the work we have initiated during the 2022-2023 school year, along with discussing the work that is currently taking place during this current school year. February 27, 2014, President Obama said, "That's what My Brother's Keeper is all about. helping more of our young people stay on track, providing the support they need to think more broadly about their future, building on what works when it works in those critical life-changing moments. The work of My Brother's Keeper has stood strong in New Rochelle as we stand on the forefront to continue what was initiated by then President Barack Obama. I would like to personally thank all of those in our greater community of New Rochelle for their tireless, sometimes volunteer work around the MBK initiative. Our MBK Advisory Board, the founding members of MBK, one that's in the room tonight, Councilman David Peters, thank you for your vision around MBK. And I would be remiss not to thank our recently retired mayor, Mayor Noam Branson, who was one of our key community partners throughout his entire tenure as mayor of New Rochelle. Thank you, Mayor Branson. When we think about the initiative, we must remain focused on the key milestones of NBK. Milestone 1, getting a healthy start and entering school ready to learn. Milestone 2, reading at grade level by 3rd grade. Milestone 3, graduating from high school, ready for college and career. Milestone 4, completing post-secondary education or training. Milestone 5, successfully entering the workforce. And milestone 6, keeping kids on track and giving them second chances. Utilizing the strategic roadmap supplied by the district, MBK's strategic direction is to provide a safe, supported, and connective school for our students. We hold true to creating a welcoming and affirming learning environment that embraces our rich diversity, considers our student voice and needs, and leverages family and community stakeholders to support the whole child. These focuses allow for us to develop healthy social and emotional learning and academic supports that embodies our MBK theme, to embrace, engage, and empower the students of the City School District of New Rochelle. In year 1, collaborating with our school administrators and community-based organizations, we were able to service and engage with over 1,500 students in a variety of platforms. Some of our highlights include our New Rochelle Public Library Kindergarten Library Card Initiative, our So Can You speaker series, where we had 6 dynamic speakers enter our high school to talk about different ways to engage and learn from their different career paths and how they can be just like them. Our MBK empowerment groups, both taking place at our Isaac E. Young Middle School and Albert Leonard Middle School, that took place during our lunchtime, where we created a space of self-reflection and identifying of their feelings and their emotions. And our MBK empowerment sessions that took place at New Rochelle High School, where we had over 140 students engage over 12 sessions, developing a space for reflection and goal setting for their future plans. Our New York State Education Department MBK Fellows Program, where we supported 4 seniors and also worked with 4 rising seniors, where they had a year's worth of enrichment with attending different programs throughout the state, along with celebrating and working with over 150 other MBK community members throughout the state of New York. Our MBK Fellows Program services over 50 school districts throughout the state of New York State. Our Booker T. Washington Vocational Program, which took place both in our spring and our summer sessions, where we were able to work with vocational skills with so many of our young students. During the summer, we were able to partner with the city, where our Booker T. Washington Vocational Program was allowing over 28 students an opportunity to have a job in a summer Learn to Earn program. And my favorite, our MBK Monday Motivational TikTok program. I would be remiss not to thank our wonderful technology team led by Anastasia and my partner, Travis, where we were able to create 1,100 followers. We have over 103,000 video views and up to date over 34 videos where we have engaged not only our students in our community, but the vast community of New Rochelle as a whole. There's not a day sometimes where I walk by and I see a former student from New Rochelle High School and they say, "Hey, Coach Nate, I see you on TikTok. You're motivating me." And this is coming from 20, 21, 22-year-olds who are important to our continued community of New Rochelle. We were also able to establish a network of support for our students by offering a variety of opportunities throughout employment, our Booker T. Washington program, along with information sessions around our New Rochelle Fire Department exam that took place just this past year. We had information sessions for our class of 2023 around their maturation into manhood. We also hosted an MBK 9th grade high school orientation that took place in August of 2023, where we brought in our Isaac E. Young and our Albert Leonard middle school students that we worked with in the previous year and introduced the high school to them in a variety of different ways, where different facility members came in, we had faculty members came in, we gave them a tour of the school, and really started to talk to them about what it takes to be a 9th grader in New Rochelle High School. And we also hosted our very first men's conference to gain greater support for mentoring and community engagement opportunities for men throughout our community. So as one of my favorite songs growing up, it said, "Where do we go from here?" I state, building relationships with students is by far the most important thing a teacher or an administrator or any person can do. Without a solid foundation and relationships built on trust and respect, no quality learning will happen. I quote Timothy Hilton from the Education Week teacher. After spending roughly 2 hours per day mentoring, mediating, and providing restorative practices for nearly over 100 students during this past and current school year, some common themes were uplifted from these sessions: family and relationship challenges, their community struggles, depression, sense of belonging, and future aspirations. We've heard from these students this year. With the help of community-led programs and our school administrators, we will be very intentional and leading the charge to make sure we support our young men and women in a greater capacity. Our student voice matters in year 2. Based on what we have experienced and learned from our students, along with a continuation of our year 1 programs, My Brother's Keeper has established a variety of new opportunities for our K-12 population during the 23-24 school year. A pilot New Rochelle High School leadership class open to all students in grades 10 through 12 was created this year that focuses on leadership principles, personal finances, and civic responsibility. In partnership with Good Wolf Incorporated, we look to support our students' goals by incorporating the practices of neuroscience insight to enhance student skills while guiding transformation of their environment and the communities that serve them to a sustainable structure of positive reinforcement. We look to support our students, families, and community through the awarding of the New York State Education Department MBK Family and Community Engagement Grant. This grant was awarded to us this year and will allow for us for the next 2 years to service our students at the amount of $124,800. This grant will provide opportunities for community healing circles, enhanced programming around milestone 2 goals of reading at grade level by the 3rd grade, information sessions for our L student population and families, focusing on their navigation of the education system, and greater support for our family home visits, intentionally targeting our MBK population needing grading support. We will pilot 2 programs this year at Davis and Jefferson Elementary Schools, focusing on our 4th and 5th grade population, respectively titled My Remarkable Self and Boys to Men. And lastly, through our partnership with the Center for Justice of Innovation, we will continue to disrupt the pipeline to the judicial system for our students through intervention programs such as Common Ground, focusing on bringing communities together that historically did not communicate with one another, and the YJET, Youth Justice Equity Team, supporting students that have displayed some behaviors that may lead to detrimental outcomes. As we continue this work, it is essential that we understand and live with purpose the definition of these words: embrace, engage, empower. When we embrace, we will continue to connect to young men that over the summer were having troubles communicating and working with one another in our community. We embraced them this year and brought them in a room with guidance counselors, security staff, and told them that we will share this community together because together we will have common ground. We will continue to engage in students as I tell a story of one that came to me and confided in me and said, "I'm having suicidal thoughts. I'm struggling right now because I don't know how to receive love because I was never given love." We will continue to engage students like that. And I tell the story that the next day they came back into the office and said, "I feel better because of the engagement that we had." We will continue to empower young ladies that are confiding in me, coming from different cultures saying, I don't want to be what my mother was. I want to be different. I want to be given the opportunity to go to college. I want to be given the opportunity to be a leader, the first-time college student in my community or in my household. We must continue to empower young ladies and young men around those goals. And as noted last year, the Student Support Service team understood the importance of serving our young ladies. Through this intentional work, we piloted the My Sister Keep Her, H, standing for healthy habits of the mind, body, and soul. E, representing an educationally empowered and socially conscious young lady. And R, understanding the importance of a responsible, respected for oneself, family, and community. My Sister Keeper has been tremendous throughout our community. Through our pilot, we were able to establish programming within our secondary schools. Albert Leonard Middle School created our Queens Collective that provided monthly engagement with over 25 middle school students. From that, they had monthly engagement, weekly service-based check-ins. They provided spoken word and segment during our WAPSI Harlem Renaissance Black History Month program, and conducted their very first women's conference that was hosted last winter. Our My Sister Keepers branch at New Rochelle High School, a committed group of faculty members, of personnel ranging from administrators, teachers, and security staff members that met during our lunch period, creating sister circles. These sister circles led to different empowerment sessions where team building activities in conjunction with our young men has started to establish the understanding that we are my sister keeper. And if we can't keep each other as my brother keeper and my sister keeper, where will our community go? We are excited that this year we'll be also including Isaac E. Young and branching into our Isaac E. Young School as we continue the work of My Sister Keeper. We are excited to continually embrace, engage, and empower these special leaders within our school community.
So I'm going to come forward and I'm going to say thank you. I know that was a lot, but I just want to turn around and look this way and that way and just say that I am super proud of the amazing work that this team has managed to engage in 1 year. It's been 1 year. And I'm super proud. You've collected data, you established baseline data, you created systems and structures, so I just want to publicly say thank you for that, Millicent. Your time is coming at the next meeting, but thank you for that. But more importantly, I just want to say thank you for their dedication and commitment to our collective why. And with that, we turn it over for questions and discussion. So come on up.
Thank you all so much. Do any of my colleagues have any comments or questions? Ms. Bavosa?
I'm hoping that my phone doesn't die. I wrote so much down. First of all, Dr. Roberts and Dr. Joyner, thank you so much for setting this up. Well done. Dr. Bashwani, I love that you used the word cherish, and I think we need to use it much more with our students. I like that you follow the Basel platform, and I like that you talked about a plate, because when you think about it, a plate is cyclic, and that if we can focus on keeping everything moving in a cyclic fashion, we might be well off. Thank you for your presentation. I'm trying to see what I have here. I like also that the fleur-de-lis is used to close out each day. I have a question. Is that done on all school level? Is that just elementary? Is it middle? Is it high school as well?
We received a commitment from all the school leaders that they would pilot K through 12, and that does include the pre-K with Barnard, and she's doing it twice, but a little bit different in the afternoon, so all the kids don't have to experience the same thing twice.
Okay. And just a question, which is not something that I anticipate an answer tonight.
Okay.
How are you reaching out to the silent student? And I'll be asking more questions of the other presenters in a moment about that. But just if you could keep that in mind. I've spoken about it. I feel very strongly that for everything we're doing, and I do applaud all of the things that are being done, there are still students who are being missed. And we need to approach that.
I don't want to answer you, but I do want to just let you know it is on our mind. So the whole premise of Clinic Kids was to offer an opportunity for the non-ballers to have an opportunity to learn SEL. So actually the nominations came from the school building of those who would need to show their voice a little bit more or show their spirit in a different way or challenge them to take a risk on a court in a way. So like we are considering it and acknowledging that we have more work to do.
Thank you so much. Dr. Lugavina Freitas, I hope I said that right.
I'm not there yet, but thank you very much.
Oh, well, I'll give it to you anyway. They said it. Hey, listen, we all aspire to that, right? I hate to say this, but the college and career service is sorely lacking in our high school. I looked at the dates, 115 and 21. I have heard from quite a few seniors who are the invisible silent ones, whose counselors have dabbled in mentioning things. I've heard from kids who've written to their counselors and asked for recommendation and asked teachers, emailed them because maybe they're not willing to go up to them, and kids have not even gotten responses. So if you could get the teachers to respond to children, even if it's to say no. One child said, all I wanted them to say was I was a good kid and I tried hard, and I would do well in college because I'm growing up. He said that in an email and didn't get a response from 2 out of 3 people. To me, that's an egregious error. I don't know how we can address it except to say, teacher, lead someone somewhere. Educare, lead them. You don't want to give it, right back and say, sorry, cannot do. But not to respond is an issue. The next thing is, and I know that since you've come in, many things have taken place. I have to give you kudos. I've heard your name. I've heard all of the things that you have instilled in many of the people who work under you and from some of the students as well. For them to know your name, that's pretty miraculous.
Thank you.
So I don't want you to take this as a negative. I'm taking you into what you've stepped into. And you know, we can step into a lot. For example, what percentage of high school seniors have gotten their recommendations? And how can you find out? Have you encouraged teachers to at least reply to the students? Have counselors actually said to the students that they worked with? A couple of kids started their essays in October, and then their resource room teachers were told, we can't work with you anymore, because they're supposed to be giving lessons and not assisting. That was written to parents. I could get a copy of the letter if you need it. And if that's the case, why were some of these essays not looked at more and more often? And why didn't anybody say from October, November, December, where's your final essay? If a child says it's done, it doesn't mean it's done. And we all know that that can be the case. And I would like to say, and I do know that you have stepped up and done an awful lot, but these are things that we as a district must address. The seniors have 5 months left with us. We need to let them know that we're not giving up on them because they only have 5 months left. They are very important, and they might be the older siblings of kids in middle and elementary. I've seen a million things for the elementary and middle. I've heard about them. High school kids feel dismissed by senior year. We have to bring them back. And I lost half my notes because my phone died, but thank you so much for what you're doing, and please accept everything I'm giving.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for that
something
information.
To support our children, I am more than willing to help you in any way I can.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
As far as my brother's keeper and my sister's keeper, Nate, I think you guys have done a great job, and I applaud all of the input that you've done in such a short time. And I do hope that the non-doctor doctor is given that same time to bring her pieces together. She's only been here a few months, and we're already flying off the chart.
Exactly.
So thank you for what you're doing. Thank you all for what you're doing. As a board member, it is a responsibility of all of us, and in my part, to say,
move our kids forward in joy, in happiness, in equity, and in a belief that they are cherished.
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bavosa.
Be very late, so I'll make it short. First, thank you so much for all your effort, your work, and I'm gonna get to it just because of time, but just know that this comes with love and appreciation. The first is that I saw the FAFSA numbers. I'm wondering if maybe we can partner with our library. They might be holding sessions for the larger community about just college readiness and FAFSA preparations, et cetera. So if we find that we're at capacity, maybe we can partner with them somehow. Maybe there are some other nonprofits in Westchester that can also help with college essays and preparedness too, that can work with folks after school or on weekends so that when they come to their counselor, they have a much more finished version ready to look at. And the third thing, I think as we move forward in terms of tracking our data year over year to see if we're moving the needle instead of just a snapshot like where we are in the 6 months or the school year. I think that like back in the day, and it's not that far long ago, but long enough ago, my own college list, I remember vividly that I was only recommended for 2-year schools. And my father had to, step up and say like, nope, I think she can do better. I think we're gonna go for 4 years. And so just making sure that the lists that we're recommending for our students are meeting them where they can. When we do have reach schools on that list, and asking their family, right? Asking the students themselves, like, what are you looking to aim for? And seeing if that list that we give them is matching what they think themselves. And I think that's also a way to track to see where they're applying, the acceptance rates for those schools too, and kind of gauge our progress that way. So, but thank you all.
Thank you.
Ms. Brooks, then Ms. Ross.
Thank you all so much for your presentation. I'll also get right to the punch and excuse everybody, I'm not addressing directly. I really am also focused on the counseling, the high school counseling piece. So I want to just underscore what Ms. Bavosa said in terms of responses from counselors and teachers in email, and if the caseloads are too big or the systems are not in place to track and make sure students are getting a response. It takes a lot for a high school student to pull it together and write an email to an adult and ask for help. We think, oh, just write them an email, we'll follow up. And my husband and I are like always telling our daughter, well, just don't be, her feelings are hurt when she doesn't get a response because she takes it personally, or they must be so busy. I'm sorry, these are their students. There's nothing that should be more busy than making sure that they get a response, even if it's I'm sorry, I'm overwhelmed, or you can expect a response in this amount of days, this is my backload, or I'm out on a conference, or whatever it is. Just as the same common courtesy we would give to any of our colleagues, that's how our students at the high school level should be treated by their counselors and their teachers when it comes to people who are reaching out for help. I just hear it too often, and I do think it's our responsibility as a board to really insist that we step up there. And that's not imputing anyone up here. I think that's really a collective sense of we just have to change the culture, because I think it's gotten to the point where it is the culture. And I just need to name that as well and reinforce what Ms. Bavosa said. It's honestly one of the things that really was why I ran for the school board, even though I would much rather be home in my bed tonight than here with all of you. So I really feel that I'm just gonna say, I'm not gonna waste our time here and pretend that everything is peachy. The other thing I wanna say, which actually ties into what I said earlier, I hope that you all are consulting with Dr. Robinson about surveying students and understanding what their experiences are, really with everything that you've talked about this evening, especially at the middle school and the high school level, where you can really use those kinds of methodologies to get that feedback. And also underscoring what Ms. Bavosa said, the kids you don't hear from, as Dr. Robinson said, where she's focused in on those that were not having a great experience, but also remember, and there's a balancing act here. A lot of you talked about the students that are in high need, and a lot of the things that you've designed are for students that are showing trouble signs, but there's a lot of kids in the middle who are not captured if that's your threshold for reaching out to them. Oh, they're in danger, they're in trouble. There's a lot of kids that don't get there. And then there are kids who are even doing well academically, but maybe still need the SEL help. And I don't think they necessarily are captured when we only go to the sort of emergency, who are the kids that are struggling model. So I just wanted to name those as well. And then I want to give a shout out somewhere on Instagram. There's a New Rochelle High School college decisions page, where you do get to see the kids that are going to some amazing institutions. And amazing institutions can be trade schools, amazing institutions can be art schools, they can be elite colleges, they can be our fabulous public institutions in New York State. But I do want to understand, and I do feel like the data is lacking, how are we doing, and do we really feel that we are maximizing the potential of each and every one of our students? And I don't think we can rest on our laurels. I think we have too many kids who are not going to the schools or the institutions or the places that would maximize their brilliance, because I see them, I know them in our community. And so I don't see anywhere in here how we are measuring where we are now so we can see if we are actually doing better. So I work at a university, so I know that there are brilliant kids in this school district, and I want to make sure that we're doing right by them. And I think by the discouragement and people not going to adults because they don't get a response, then shortcuts that possibility of that student being told by an adult, you could do better. You can strive to go for that reach. You may not get it all the time, and that's okay, but go for it. But if they don't even get an email response, then that opportunity for that encouragement is lost because that kid may say, that person's never gonna have time for me. So we can do better and we must do better. And I think we have a lot of really great people here and here in our district, and tools like the ones that Dr. Robinson used for us to get the data so we can really act on it. Thank you both and all so much. And really, what Ms. Minaya said earlier, we as a board, we want to support those efforts. Thank you.
Ms. Ross?
Well, first of all, thank you for the presentation and everything you guys have done so far. I'm not going to repeat everything that my colleagues have said, but I would say that I third Ms. Vivosa and Ms. Brooks in terms of when we're talking about sort of guidance and high school counseling in particular, because that is an area that I have heard similar kinds of feedback from other parents within our district. And I also think of it as it's actually one of the lasting impressions that you make on students when they leave. And when I talk to my friends, now, we're approaching in our 40s and 50s, it's the thing that they'll talk about their high schools, is the type of counseling they received when it came to secondary and going into what they did after high school. And so this is actually one of the most important interactions that we have with our students as they are entering into their next, whether that be they're going to college or they're going to start their careers, vocational school. It is such an important transition time, and how we can really help our students make that transition is really, I think, one of the key success factors of everything that we do, right, is leading up to that moment. And so we want to make sure that we fulfill our promise at that final moment. So all the SEL that we do from the time they're in pre-K and kindergarten, that's sort of that's the fruit of all the work that we've done. I'd say the other thing is just to share an anecdote is, so my daughter's in the middle school, and she talks, I never heard anything from my son, so I don't even know what happened in middle school for him. But she was just telling me in health class about they're having discussions on mental health issues and how students were able to share, whether it was their experiences themselves or those of their parents, and they shared it in the class. And I thought, how beautiful is that these students felt safe and they had a safe environment to actually feel comfortable that they could share that. And she came home and shared that with me, and I just thought I wanted to share that with you all, because the work that you're doing, it is coming through, and it's so beautiful to kind of see those little spotlights. So we just need to keep doing more of that, and that foundation is really, I would say it's really one of the most important things in terms of social emotional learning, and preparing our children for all of the challenges that they'll have within life, whether it's education, personal. It's such a core skill set, and the fact that we have the ability, and really it's an honor that we have to help teach them that, and so we really are in that place. So really appreciate the work that you all are doing.
Ms. Williams?
Thank you very much to the team for all the work that you're doing for our students. and for our professionals. And I really appreciate the timeline that's on page 8, slide 16, that begins in January and ends with August, and August, which begins the professional learning series for building leaders and staff, which is so important. And thank you for sharing that information about what you're doing before you add the PD. So it's being informed with walkthroughs and also really looking at the data. That's wonderful. And also I heard something interesting about a mindful moment. Can you give us some more information about the mindful moment?
So the mindful moment is a practice that is happening nationally, and it is not new to the world of SEL. However, it is happening in buildings already in different ways, but we are kind of creating our menu of opportunities for schools to kind of begin to adapt, see how it feels, what it hopes to achieve, right? So the fleur-de-lis focus moment is a principal can get on the loudspeaker, give the announcements for the day, any of the busy stuff that needs to happen, and then end with a statement. And then take students through an inhale moment. You want to do an inhale moment? You want to take one now? Okay, everybody take a deep breath. And let it out. And take a moment and think about yesterday and who you were. Take a deep breath in. Take a deep breath out. What from yesterday are you going to pull in today to be the best version of yourself? Take a deep breath in. And exhale. And start your day with all those gifts, right? So I can play with those breathing pieces as a building leader, but ultimately the statement that reads before the fleur-de-lis focus moment and then sending them off is the intentionality of making sure that I kind of root it back to my CNI days, once upon a time. If we have different practices year to year around things like annotating, so a kid will spend a year learning a new practice as opposed to deepening it. So what would the world look like in our SEL practices if we had some foundational practices that just grew with us from year to year? So by, the exit time, they can say that they've achieved like mindfulness, right? That they can take those practices home and then expose their larger communities to it. Was that?
Yes, okay. Thank you.
Ms. Castellano-Manaya?
Okay, I'll be very brief because I know everyone needs to get rest. My only concern is also your well-being and the culture of care for you as the charismatic, driven leaders that you are, that are the caretakers for hundreds upon hundreds of students as well as staff. And so I guess my urge would be to please take care of yourselves so that you can be sustained in this work. And then also consider how we can leverage, just like in the previous presentation, how can we leverage the strength and the voices of our students who, even as young as 6th grade, and I would even beg to say pre-KK, they themselves are curators of content around leadership and mindfulness and skills to teach each other. And how can we tap into some of those students that might not be the obvious kid that goes to the principal and says, can I please present at a board meeting? Love that, by the way, love that. But what about the kids who might be only socializing on Roblox, but they might have a great idea to make a video or to spread a message of respect or kindness or thinking about their peers that might appear to be silent or in need of mental health support too. So I would love to see us thinking about tapping into the voices and strengths and even technological skills of our kids as a way to promote all of the work that each of you is leading to help you with sustainability and knowing that each of you is one person. Thank you for all your hard work, and I hope we can continue to support you.
Thank you.
Dittos for what everyone said. Thank you guys very much. I want to highlight, and Ms. Freitas, this is for your part of the presentation, 4 touch points per year and a new system for setting up meetings. it's going to be game changing for a lot of the students at the high school. Yesterday, I actually met with the New Rochelle High School Student Advisory Committee, and they mentioned, counselors and stuff like that. And I mentioned in the presentation that this was in there, and they went crazy for it. Like the smiles on every kid's face was like, "Oh yeah, we need that, we need that." So kudos to that. I'm looking forward for that implementation. I have 2 questions, and it's data questions. So if you don't have it now, that's no problem. I can follow up with Dr. Reynolds, but. Guidance counselor ratio has probably been every year I ask this question during this presentation, during budget season, because that's a big concern of mine. Like, where are we compared to the national average, the county and state average? I'm interested to see where we lie. I know in past presentations we were like 1 counselor every 250, 280 kids. So that's a question, seeing where we lie, because kids meeting their counselors, like everyone said, is super important. If we need to put more resources, you've heard tonight, I think the board is willing to look into that and put more support in that department. I'm also, 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, we hired a guidance counselor specifically to help athletes and sports students. So I'm interested to see data on that, how that's going. Is it really supporting the students that need it? And is that a model? Should we move that to an arts guidance counselor? Do we need a science STEM guidance counselor? So I would love to see that, like where that's going, and if that is a model that we should replicate in the district. Nate, Mr. Adams, thank you. Me and Nate worked at the Boys and Girls Club together, so anytime there's issues in the community, I call him as advice and get advice for it. But the program that he's running, bringing different types of students together to air out their issues, is so important. And I know some of the kids that are in the program that is being served. And there is a racial divide among students in New Rochelle. We've seen it with Hispanic and African American students, and bridging that gap and bringing them together is so important. And it actually goes to how our middle schools are actually separated. Yes. You see Isaac is heavily Hispanic, Albert Leonard is heavily African American, and the kids don't interact until high school. So they are spending 3 years where they should be getting to know each other. And if we look in the future what the models look like for our school, whether a Princeton model would work for middle schools, bringing the kids together earlier so that in high school they're not actually meeting for the first time. So I want to commend you on that.
And I want to comment on that. So this year with our FACES grant, the goal is to be able to bring our both middle school MBK empowerment groups to take them away on a retreat, to be able to spend time, put the phones away, let's get to know one another. And that little work happened so quickly, even with our Common Grounds program. The first session, they looked at each other and stared each other down and spoke about the issues that they had in the community. By session 4, they were exchanging numbers and talking about getting together in New Rock City that weekend. So it's just a matter of communicating, understanding that there's a commonality, and the common theme is we are all human. And we all have different challenges in our lives, and our cultures all intermingle together. So figuring out who they are, what they are, and how we can live together in this great community, that's all it takes. So I'm continuing doing that work. We had 12 students. We're now up to 36 students that's participating in our Common Ground program.
Right. And then, Ms. Bavosa forgot to mention something, but including looking at high school students to get library cards as well if they don't have it. As a
Many of them don't have it, and they don't want to tell anyone they don't have it.
Right.
So couldn't one of the librarians or someone who can issue a library card maybe come to the high school
Definitely.
and say, one-time library deal, just like a license. You're eligible, come and get one.
Yeah, good idea.
Thank you.
Mr. Iannuzzi, excuse me, Dr. Joyner is pushing me to try to answer some of your questions, if I may. So we are in par with our local districts, a little bit lower in the high school. Nationally, we are actually lower at the high school. Our elementary school numbers are high for our school counselors because we have 4, 1 at Trinity, and then the 3 of them are split between two buildings. So if there's any opportunity to hire, and I really believe in the work in our elementary school counselors because they really are setting the foundation, that would be, in my opinion, a place to look at to add more supports there. And in our middle schools. Our middle schools, we have 5 at Albert and we have 4 at Isaac. So their caseloads are, let's see, where are those numbers? About 210 and 290. One counselor per 290, 210.
Thank you. Okay. And just, Dr. Bashwani, thank you for your presentation as well. I've had the pleasure to work with Dr. Bashwani in my work job, especially with expanded learning and summer programming. So I'm excited for what the future holds, especially with this Deep Dive Saturday program and with Summer Stars and just the potential for what expanded learning and after school and summer program will look like, especially with this partnership with the city that we are doing. I'm excited what the future holds and how many kids we'll be able to serve in a couple years. So thank you all. Dr. Reynolds?
Thank you very much, Mr. President. And on behalf of the group, well, firstly, I want to thank you for your presentation tonight. Thank you for showing the unification of our efforts within the student support services. Please know, as a district, as employees of the district, we acknowledge our deficiencies. That's the first step to making any enhancement to any program that we have. So in order to be proactive, you have to know what your current reality is. So where we are deficient, we are working very hard to change the mantra, to change the mindset of the entire organization. Sometimes that's done by pulling people along, sometimes it's done by pushing people ahead, and sometimes it's done through guilt, right? So we know all of those practices can help, but keeping in mind, when I shared my interest in becoming superintendent, I detailed the fact that this profession is based on relations, right? It's how you relate students to their world, how you relate families to resources, how you relate children to their learning, things of that nature. We have to learn as adults how to relate with our students more easily, right? How do we come into their world? We keep trying to bring them into our world, and we have to realize that we have to meet them where they are in order to bring them to where they can be. So that's the work that this team is doing, because we always focus on the academics. How are our kids doing? How are our kids doing? Well, if our kids aren't well, they're not going to do well. So that's what this team is focused on. And what I want to say is, for our practitioners who are in it, for our counselors, I don't want to give them a pass, but I also want to acknowledge the work that they are doing. Because the improvements that we have in this day and age greatly surpass what we have seen in the past. Are we perfect? No. Are we getting near perfect? No. But we are working to go in a positive direction. So I want to acknowledge that. I want to acknowledge their efforts. And for those students who have not been responded to, on behalf of the district and on behalf of my colleagues, please accept my apology, and we will try to do better on a daily basis. And with that, Mr. President, we're going to come back to the dais for the rest of our meeting. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Colleagues, we're going to amend the agenda to let public comment go first before we finish the second readings. I apologize for the lateness. You know, Dr. Reynolds said before that we had to merge 2 meetings into one. And yeah, we had 3 presentations that we usually only have 2. So colleagues, can I get a motion in a second to amend the agenda to move public comment before the rest of the discussion items?
So move, Bavosa.
Second, Castellano Minaya.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're about to convene the public comment period of the meeting. The Board of Education adopted Policy 1230 in April 2022 to ensure all members of the public had the opportunity to speak at both of our board meetings each month. We believe it is crucial for us to hear from our community members about their concerns and issues. Having said that, please note that the board is here to listen. The public comment period is not designed to be a discussion. Accordingly, understand the board will not respond to your concerns and questions tonight. We take your concerns and questions seriously and want to have sufficient time to process and research issues if need be. We will, however, respond to your questions and concerns at a future meeting or have the proper staff member get back to you at the appropriate time. I also want to point out that under state and federal privacy laws, we are unable to entertain any comments or questions about school personnel and students. Please know, however, that we take personal concerns very seriously. On these matters, we would ask you to go through the appropriate administrative channels. Finally, we recognize that right now our nation and our community are polarized on a number of issues. That said, we want our school board meetings to serve as an example to our students that members of our school board and members of our community can deal with controversial issues in a civil manner and demonstrate mutual respect for one another. In that spirit, we will insist that all speakers and members of the audience maintain civility and respect for any divergent views that others possess. We ask that speakers please address their comments to the board directly rather than the audience. And in the unlikely event the meeting becomes unruly, the board will recess the meeting and return once order has been restored. Finally, I want to remind everyone that you may submit written comments to the board in lieu of speaking during the public comment period if you so choose. Tonight, we've set aside 30 minutes for public comment, where each speaker who has signed up before 3:30 today has 3 minutes to speak. If you would like to speak tonight, please sign up in person at the meeting with the clerk, and you will be afforded an opportunity to speak during the public comment period if time permits. Our first speaker of the night is Mr. Norman Hopman.
Well, I'm glad that you're improving the world through your procedure and your professional status. I give you that compliment, which is well deserved. I'm on the board of directors, advisory board, Silent Moment, Inc., which is headed by Abraham Frank in Brooklyn. I'm a volunteer. Here's a letter. We're promoting a silent minute around the world in schools. It's allowed under the state law, 3029A. I want you guys and gals to give it to the students. 1 minute a day. No teacher instruction, no labor, no cost, no time lost. 1 minute. Plus, the student can go to the family as an option and say, what should I meditate on tomorrow? Imagine that, a family bond option. Here's a letter endorsing it from age 7, grade 2. Our quiet moment is awesome because you get time to think about you and your family. I love that you made this quiet moment up. Thank you very much. Can we do it for 2 minutes instead? I don't know what the status of this project is with you guys. Social emotional learning is very beneficial. This is partly a social emotional learning program for 1 minute. It is. It's just there's no teacher involvement. And we really need that as a basis. And again, I say, a student can go to the family, a brother, a mother, a father. What should I meditate on tomorrow? Awesome. Okay, I'll read you another letter. In Glen Mary Elementary School, we just started the silent moment. I enjoy having the silent moment every day because it lets you a chance to think. I wish it was longer. It makes me feel as peaceful as a lake. I hope the school keeps the silent moment. So Yonkers has it for 40 schools as an official policy. Yeah. Official voted on policy. I don't know what the honorable I don't know what your status is on that. I'm not entitled to know that right now. And then we have the science behind it. We have the science by Dr. Paul Safran, PhD. It changes the brain. 1 minute. What letters? Brilliant. May I send you these letters? It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hopman. Next up is Mr. Vincent Malfitano.
Hello, Vince Malfitano. I guess my son is saying it's 10 o'clock. Do I know where my parent is? It's nice you advanced this, but you should do it before the presentations. No disrespect to the presentations, but I could see that at home. You got parents coming here, and we have school tomorrow. There's no reason you can't advance public speaking before all of that. It's been mentioned for years. I'm looking at your resolution on the adopting the thing on the homeless kids. And I pointed this out before, in the admission part and participation of a homeless child, it talks about that a child will be immediately admitted even if they're unable to produce the records normally required. Okay, I get that. I worked in schools for 40 years. I understand you get immunization records, but the thing that troubles me the most, it says, admit a kid even if you have no proof of age. Well, isn't that a birth certificate? So we're going to admit kids to our schools with no birth certificates? How do we really know what their real name is? You do know that Homeland Security has already acknowledged there are 85,000 unaccompanied children admitted across the border into the United States that we lost track of. Nobody knows where they are. So talk about that. Tell me, how long are you going to have a kid without proof of who they really are? Last thing, you talk about bringing people together. It's a nice thought. But why did you create a class that was intentionally discriminatory? I mentioned this the other day, and I quoted from your own newsletter that was published a few months ago that basically says, that we have created a leadership class for children of color. That is blatantly racist. Now, I brought it to your attention, and after a month or so, you published a little thing, oh, it's open to everybody. Well, no, it wasn't. But what really concerns me as a citizen is it didn't seem to trouble any of you that this happened. If somebody said we created a class for white children only, there would be righteous indignation in this community. Is racism okay in our community? It seems okay to you. No, I'm not asking for anybody to be fired. Doesn't anybody read this stuff before it goes out? Don't you feel you owe this community at least an acknowledgement that that was a mistake? Or are you one of these Ibram Kendi guys? The remedy for past discrimination is present discrimination. And the remedy for present discrimination is future discrimination. I hope that's not who you are.
Thank you, Mr. Malfitano. Next up is Miss Melissa Passarelli.
Good evening. I'm Melissa Passarelli, the principal of Webster School and the president of the district's administrative and supervisory unit. The administrative and supervisory unit is opposed to a charter school in New Rochelle. This community has long invested in and supported our public schools. The strong partnership between the district and community is rooted in the district's mission and in our ongoing commitment to provide high-quality education that is inclusive of all New Rochelle students. Our district should be used as an example nationwide of whole child education, where students can access a range of opportunities beyond the classroom, cultivating their interests and talents in the visual and performing arts, in clubs, and through athletics. Decision-making complies with New York State Education Department regulations with transparency to constituents and to stakeholders. A charter school has no place in New Rochelle for a myriad of reasons, including but not limited to unfair and inequitable educational practices, a lack of transparency and accountability to the public, the diversion of funds from our public schools, the practice of hiring uncertified and/or inexperienced teachers, and most concerning, the discriminatory practices surrounding the selection and retention of students. If approved, a charter school would negatively impact the educational standards the district has set and has worked diligently to maintain. It is incumbent upon the district, its employees, and the residents to ensure a high-quality educational experience for all students, which is contrary to the way in which charter schools operate. The diversion of funding and resources from the district will potentially lead to a decline in programming for the benefit of the charter school, without transparency for the student selection process and for fiscal management. Taxpayers have the right to know how funds are being used in the educational process, which is not the case with charter schools. For the school being proposed, it is staggering to know that there is a potential that over $7 million would be diverted from New Rochelle students, which would ultimately have a negative impact on programming. Furthermore, as a community and district that values its educators, is committed to their professional growth, and ensures that New York State requirements are met, it is not acceptable that some New Rochelle students would be educated by uncertified, inexperienced teachers in a charter school that is not bound by requirements or committed to teacher development and retention. The administrative and supervisory unit is committed to our students and district standing together in opposition to a charter school in New Rochelle. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Passarelli, and thank the union as well. Next up is Ms. Miriam Dessim.
Hi. So we listened to the earlier presentations regarding all of the goals in the district and a lot of the mission statements and strategic roadmap. We talked about, we've just embarked on this. I want to set the record straight. We had a strategic roadmap from 2015 to 2020. At the end of 2020, we deemed it not measurable. We then embarked on a whole process of creating a new one that's more measurable that we rolled out in the school year of 2022-2023 last year. Although I'm not seeing any measures coming out of that one any more than the other one. So we're professional mission statement writers. We've had all these committees, culture and climate committee, policy committee. We've been doing this stuff. And that does not get to actually us improving the experience of the kids. I am very happy to hear that you did get to the point of when you started talking about the counselors and doing a better job with the career and development. That is key to how we really get at the kids and their success. Yes, the last time presented, we had about 244. The number was about 244 kids per counselor at the high school. We were really patting ourselves on the back because I think it was like 6 less than what the requirement of 250 per student is. We were like less than that. We need more counselors because it's a lot of work, and I know that we have since given them even more work with our new director of counseling. That I know, for example, talked to a lot of kids, like when we did our college fair, and there is so much that these kids need and want, and it was great. I thank Dr. Octilis because we've been able to do it for 2 years, bringing them to the HBCUs, but we have to follow up with them, and I've asked to come back so that we could follow up with them. I've learned so much about what they need, but have not been able to do that. I've said to many of you in the district that I want to help and work with the district to get this done because that's critical. I have students who are ready, they've made connections, but they don't know how to follow up. When I ask them, where are you on your college application? Oh, I'm working on it. They're still working on it. It's now January. Most of them should have had that in. The reason why a lot of the kids, the recommendations don't happen is because junior year, I'm sorry, I have to tell you this. Junior year, parents get a packet that they have to fill out so that the teachers get information from people who know the kids and then are able to write the recommendations. Well, if you have students who don't have parents who can do this, how are we supporting them to make sure that they get this? Because you can't get it done. They're not going to get the recommendations. There's a lot to be done. So those are some of the things. I could help more. We'll talk about it later. Thank you.
Thanks, Miriam. Next up is Ms. Mary Monzone.
Hi, Mary Monzone. I first want to say I'm a very proud Isaac parent who had an 8th grader in the chorus tonight, so that was very exciting. Now, putting on my other hat, I am currently this year's PTA Council President. We currently have started a petition against the proposed charter school, and which we are sharing. It's on social media, and it will also be coming through the various PTAs, and you're going to put it on the website. Hopefully, we'll share that. So I'm just going to read some highlights of what the petition says, but I'd hope everybody would visit the change.org and read the entirety. In New Rochelle, our diversity is our strength. We are concerned about what a charter school's impact would be on a student enrollment and diversity. Charter schools often employ strategies to selectively admit students, manipulating enrollment processes, and creating barriers that can hinder diversity and equal access to education. We stand together as one New Rochelle, committed to providing a fair and equitable education experience for every student in our community. We implore you to say no to the privatization of our public education system and to allow us to continue our proud tradition of nurturing the growth and education of our future leaders in New Rochelle. We are pro-New Row, and we stand united for the preservation and support of our public education system. And if you would like a link sent to you, I can give you our email. It's nrptac@gmail.com. We'll send you the link, but it'll be on Facebook and various other locations. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Monzone. Next up is Dr. Rosa Rivera McCutcheon.
Good evening. I just wanted to articulate how valuable it was to have both of the presentations actually happening together, primarily because I want to encourage the board and our school district to really think about how the profile of a graduate is so very closely linked to the importance of their socio-emotional well-being, their mental health. And to really ensure that we're taking the time in our school district to get to know the kids very well. So a lot of the anecdotes and comments that the board members shared had to do with individual students who maybe were not being heard by their teachers, by their school counselors, et cetera. And I think that one of the things that I've mentioned in prior comments has to do with the importance of really thinking about what the size of our high school in particular is. I'm really heartened to know that counseling and mental health is really being pushed into the elementary schools, so that when kids get into the high schools, they will have a sort of a history, a trajectory of being well cared for and built those relationships. But I'm not sure that we have a model that is really in the best interest of the students' well-being and getting known when we have student teacher ratios so high, as well as the school counselor and student ratios, which may or may not, I'm not sure if I heard it in the presentation, in alignment, be in alignment with the ASCA sort of framework. And so I think it's very crucial for us to think about how do we ensure that a teacher, like someone that I know very well who has many, many students on his or her in their charge, that when they're asked to do letters of recommendation, that they're not inundated by the number of students that are asking them. And to do really good recommendations, you have to really know the students well. And so I think it's very important for us to think about how do we spread the wealth, so to speak, so that it's not just the school counselors and the social workers that are doing the work of making sure that kids are known. How do we ensure that the kids are being connected to, not just through MBK and My Sister's Keeper, but across the various ways, including with the teachers who are seeing them for incredibly prolonged periods of time. And last, I just want to emphasize the importance of thinking about ways that we focus on the children as a whole child, a child as a whole child, as opposed to thinking about assessment. That was a major key outcome from the Blue Ribbon Commission. So thinking about how the student is driving the work and not assessments is going to be critical in this work. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rivera-McCutcheon. Would anyone else like to sign up for public comment tonight? Seeing none, we're going to move back to discussion items. We have 5 second readings. So last meeting we talked in late December, we talked about these policies. We had our first reading. Today we're having our second reading, and we will be adopting them. So second reading of policy 6410, authorized signatures. Second reading of policy 6700, purchasing. Second reading of policy 6705, federal funds purchasing. Second reading of policy 6710, purchasing agent. And second reading of policy 5152, homeless children. Do any of my colleagues have any questions on any of those policies? We also have the first reading to sunset 3 policies. So at our next meeting, we will be officially sunsetting those policies. And we have first reading for policy 8130.2, workplace violence prevention. So this policy, we are having our first reading, but we are waiving the second reading and adopting this tonight. It is state mandated, and we need to have it passed before February 1st in order to be in compliance. So we will be passing that tonight. That's a good question, Madam Clerk. Does that require a supermajority, or no? We just waive it.
No, but you do need to vote a first and a second to waive the second reading.
So yeah, look, it's on the agenda as 10.19. We will be amending the policies and bylaws in order to adopt that. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Do any of my colleagues have any questions on those policies? Seeing none, we will move on to liaison reports. Do any of my colleagues have any liaison reports?
Wait, I'm sorry. You have to take a first and a second to waive the second reading so that we can adopt it.
Okay, so I just say we're having the second, okay.
A motion and a second to
So we
waive the
just had our
second
first reading. We will be having our second reading as well of policy 8130.2, workplace violence prevention. Yeah. Ms. Barbosa?
Is on? Okay, I'm going to keep it brief for a change. As far as the Rescue Safety Committee goes, all buildings are presently in compliance for this entire cycle. That's a rarity in this time and age with all of the climate change. As far as the Fund for Educational Excellence, the 23rd Awards Gala will take place a week from this Thursday, February 1st, at the Surf Club on the Sound, starting at 6:30 p.m. Dr. Jill Ostringer-Cohen, John Reverall of Cafeterio, and Josiah Jojo Gray, the Washington Nationals 2023 All-Star pitcher and New Rochelle High School 2015 graduate, are being honored. There will also be 4 student awardees who will be celebrated that night. and a VIP meet and greet with JoJo will take place from 6 to 6:30 for those who may choose to sign up. The jazz band is going to be providing music entertainment during the cocktail hour. The string quartet and student vocalists will entertain during the dinner. And the money raised will benefit the fund's reinstated chess program for elementary so that all children are exposed to the ability to play chess. That has not been around for quite some time. The fund's SAT, ACT programs will begin soon. They're at a highly discounted price. And all information for this committee can be found at www.nredfund.org. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pavosa. Any other liaison reports? Seeing none, we're going to move on to personnel resolutions. Colleagues, can I get a motion and a second to approve consent agenda for personnel resolutions number 24-223, 1 through 1, number 24-224, 1 through 21, number 24-225, 1 through 1, number 24-226, 1 through 4, number 24-227, 1 through 12, and number 24-228, 1 through 28, according to the recommended action for each item.
So moved, Williams.
Second, Pavosa.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Colleagues, can I get a motion and a second to approve consent agenda for general resolutions number 24-229 through number 24-247, according to the recommended action for each item?
Second, Ross.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Our next meeting will be on Tuesday, February 6th at Trinity Elementary School. Tonight, we are adjourning in memory of Armando Benevento, a grandfather of Trevor Benevento, who is a grounds maintenance working foreman, as well as the grandfather of Rachel Felici, a science teacher who teaches chemistry at New Rochelle High School. We are adjourning in memory of Hope Sobey, a retired school psychologist at Auburn Leonard Middle School, who passed away on November 28th, 2023. Veronica Solomonka, a retired teacher at Barnard School and principal at Roosevelt School from 1967 to 1971, who passed away on December 8th, 2023. Sharon Babat, a retired teacher at Roosevelt and Ward School, who passed away on December 17th, 2023. And Mario Fumara, a security guard at New Rochelle High School, who passed away on December 27th, 2023. Colleagues, can I get a motion and a second to adjourn the meeting?
So moved, Pavosa.
Second, Williams.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.